Chapter 60. Let's return to the sect first. Circulating his yuan power, he turned it into a ball of true fire and burned the letter. In the next moment, Fei Ren also flew towards the direction of the Iron Palm Gate. Fei Ren's harvest from this trip to Tianshui Town was not small. Not only did he obtain rare, third-grade medicinal ingredients like the underworld hunter poison grass and the 9 suns flower, he also plundered a large amount of inferior-grade origin stones, enough for him to break through to the 10th level of the body refinement realm. Even the third-grade demonic cultivation method, evil spirit method, that Xie Xuanji was proud of also fell into his pocket. However, this cultivation method had too many drawbacks and was not as powerful and stable as the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture. Therefore, Fei Ren did not take a fancy to it and just threw it into a corner of the spirit ring. Eldest senior brother. Just as he returned to the Iron Palm Gate, 2 young disciples at the gate bowed towards Fei Ren and greeted him. Ever since Fei Ren defeated Wang Lingyun and obtained the approval of the Gate Master Huai, his reputation and position in the Iron Palm Gate had been completely established. He became the eldest senior brother in the Iron Palm Gate, and even some of the elders had to act according to his words. Even Wang Lingyun's Master Wu Tai was the same, not to mention these ordinary disciples. Yes, nodding his head, Fei Ren's expression was calm as he stepped up the mountain. Iron Palm Gate, Blue Sky Peak, there's still no change. Sweeping his gaze, Fei Ren sighed emotionally. Blue Sky Peak was still the same as before. The scenery was beautiful, and he could faintly see some inner sect disciples rushing out of their residences. Halfway up the mountain, there were also some outer sect disciples receiving guidance from the elders. It was as peaceful as before. Fei Ren, you're back. Suddenly, a surprised female voice came from behind. In the next moment, Chun Tingting hurried over with small steps, her voice filled with joy. Tingting. Looking back, Fei Ren was also surprised. Chun Tingting in front of him was wearing a green muslin dress. Her black hair reached her waist, and her beautiful face was covered with light makeup. She was very cute, but also emitted a trace of seductiveness. Fei Ren could not help but feel his throat go dry, and there was a faint movement below his abdomen. Where are your eyes looking at? Despicable. Seeing Fei Ren staring at her like that, Chun Tingting blushed. At the same time, she reached out her hand to poke Fei Ren's eyes, seemingly a little embarrassed. Sorry. I lost my composure. Tingting, why are you looking for me? Fei Ren coughed dryly a few times. He had also realized something, so he restrained his expression and asked in a serious manner. It had to be said that the saying a girl changes 18 times between childhood and womanhood was indeed reasonable. Fei Ren and Chun Tingting had both entered the Iron Palm School about half a year ago. Now, Fei Ren had just turned 16, and Chun Tingting was about the same age as him. In the Dacha dynasty, this age was already considered an adult, and some of the farmers' children were even discussing marriage. She's already so beautiful at the age of 16. This chick is truly a beauty in the making. Secretly sighing in his heart, Fei Ren's face pretended to be calm. Although he had seen a lot of the world, it was still difficult for him to remain calm in front of beautiful women. After all, he had just turned 16 and only knew a little about the matters between men and women. He had never tried it before, and as a pure and naive person, it was normal for him to have some physiological urges. Senior Fei Ren, it's not me who's looking for you. It's Master who's looking for you. Lightly smiling, Chun Tingting placed her hands on her hips, but her tone was somewhat playful. Master? Hearing this, Fei Ren froze for a moment. Ever since he became Guo Huai's disciple, the other party had been training him with all his might, and even gave him the first-rank spirit treasure, the bead bayonet. It was enough to see the importance he placed on Fei Ren, and it was no less than training the next successor to the Iron Palm School. I guess he wants to see how my cultivation is progressing. Thinking up to here, Fei Ren grinned secretly. After all, before he left the Iron Palm School, he was only at the 7th level of the body refinement realm. Now, he was at the 9th level of the body refinement realm. This kind of progress could be considered godly, and even Guo Huai himself probably did not expect it. Hurry up and go. Seeing that Fei Run was still in a daze, revealing a smile from time to time, as if he was an idiot, Chun Tingting could not help but urge him. At the same time, she stretched out her hand and pushed Fei Run, speechless. Go, go, go. I'll go now. Don't push me. As he stared at the fuming Chun Tingting, whose cheeks were flushed red and somewhat adorable, Fei Ren rubbed his nose and let out a dry laugh. Then, he turned around and flew towards the nearby Teeling Peak at lightning speed. Iron Mountain Peak, in a stone pavilion, Guohuai, who was dressed in martial robes, stood quietly. At this moment, his gaze was slowly looking into the distance. His face was filled with worry, as if something was weighing on his mind. Why do I have a feeling of unease? Frowning, Guohuai's face was heavy. Master, I'm back. In a flash, Fei Ren came to Guohuai's side. Kneeling on one knee, he clasped his hands together. Fei Ren, you're finally back. That's great. How was your training? Seeing that Fei Ren had appeared, Guohuai slightly relaxed his brows. Then, he stood up and helped Fei Ren up with a smile. I did not disappoint, Master. My cultivation has made a breakthrough. With a faint smile, Fei Ren nodded slightly. 9th level of the body refinement stage? Good kid. This sect master did not misjudge you. Hearing this, Guohuai was stunned for a moment before his face lit up with joy. As a 2nd level middle unity stage practitioner, Fei Ren's cultivation could not hide from his Yuan power senses. After discovering that Fei Ren's cultivation had made a breakthrough, Guohuai, who was originally full of worry, felt as if he was bathed in a spring breeze. His mood was greatly improved. I was lucky. I unexpectedly obtained some opportunities. In the face of Guohuai's praise, Fei Ren did not boast about himself. Instead, he humbly replied, Master, you seem to have something on your mind? As if he suddenly thought of something, Fei Ren probed again. Previously, he had noticed a trace of strangeness on Guohuai's face, but due to his identity, he could not say it out loud. As expected, I can't hide from your eyes. That's right, there is something bothering me. Glancing at Fei Ren beside him, Guohuai shook his head and laughed. Do you still remember Wu Tai? 7 days ago, I sent him to settle the internal strife in Clear Wind Castle. Logically speaking, he should have returned the day before yesterday. However, until today, there has been no news of Wu Tai. Furthermore, there is no trace of him. Clear Wind Castle. Wu Tai was Wang Lingyun's master. His strength was at the 8th level of the body refinement stage. Although he held the position of elder, he was no longer a match for the current Fei Ren. Therefore, he had never placed him in his eyes. Clear Wind Castle is a village near Wuhan Town. For generations, the Lin clan has lived there. There are about 10,000 people in the castle. Normally, they have a good relationship with our Iron Palm sect. Recently, there was an internal strife in Clear Wind Castle for the Castle Lord. Due to the request of the previous Castle Lord, I sent Wu Tai to mediate. Nodding his head, Guohuai indifferently said, I see. Master, how is the overall strength of this Clear Wind Castle? Rubbing his chin, Fei Ren seemed to be deep in thought. Compared to the Iron Palm sect, it is naturally very weak. Although there are many young martial practitioners in the castle, the current Castle Lord is only at the 7th level of the body refinement stage. Therefore, I only sent Wu Tai alone. Hearing Lin Dong's words, Guohuai lightly smiled and said in a casual tone. Chapter 61. The Clear Wind Castle is weak. Wu Tai alone should be enough to deal with it. Master, you don't have to worry too much. I think it's better to let nature take its course. Due to his grudge with Wang Lingyun in the past, Fei Ren naturally did not have a good impression of Wu Tai, an elder in the sect. Fine, you just came back not long ago, so I won't disturb you. Rest early. When he heard these words, Guohuai gently nodded his head. Fei Ren was one of his disciples. Regardless of talent or strength, he was one of the best. Therefore, Guohuai naturally obeyed Fei Ren's advice. Master, I'll take my leave first. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren immediately cupped his hands and turned to leave the stone pavilion. Ever since he took the underworld 100 poison grass from Xie Xuanji, he had not had the time to consume it and cultivate. The rank 3/9 Sun's flower in the spirit ring was also quietly lying in a corner. These two herbs were rank 3 herbs that could greatly increase a warrior's cultivation, so Feyrin naturally would not let them go. Currently, his cultivation was at the 9th level of the body refinement realm. With the help of the underworld 100 poison grass and the 9 Suns flower, breaking through to the 10th level of the body refinement realm was not a problem. Moreover, he still had a few hundred inferior origin stones in his spirit ring, so he did not have to worry about running out of origin power when breaking through. Heroes come from a young. I, Guohuai, am so fortunate to be able to accept this child as my disciple. This is great. Looking at Fei Ren's back as he left, Guohuai's face revealed a thoughtful expression, then smiled slightly. 3 days later, in a certain residence in the Blue Sky Peak, Fei Ren's upper body was naked. In front of him was a strangely shaped purple herb, as well as a strange fiery red flower. They were the underworld 100 poison grass and the 9 Suns flower. Let's start cultivating. With his eyes focused, Feyrin reached out to grab the underworld 100 poison grass beside him and put it into his mouth. After chewing for a while, he swallowed it. Gulp. As the underworld 100 poison grass entered his stomach, Feyrin's brows slightly furrowed. He only felt a strange, violent energy rampaging in his lower abdomen. The violent energy was mixed with a ball of black poison, which then spread throughout the meridians in his body, causing waves of piercing pain. Sucking in a breath of cold air, Feyrin's face turned solemn. Then, he began to circulate the black tortoise's longevity scripture. Strands of yuan power gushed out from his dantian and suppressed the violent energy, preventing the poison from seeping into his meridians and bones. What a domineering medicinal effect. Can I just swallow it directly? If I let the poison seep into my veins, even God would not be able to save me. Feyrin heaved a sigh of relief. He took the opportunity to summon the Immortal refining cauldron. At the same time, he used his yuan power to drive the violent energy towards his dantian. The Immortal refining cauldron had already fused with Feyrin and was usually hidden in the center of his dantian. As long as he used the refining power of the Immortal refining cauldron, he would be able to completely devour this violent energy and purify it into harmless energy. Good baby, listen to me. Feyrin's face was solemn as sweat dripped down his forehead. Because the 100 nether poison grass was a grade 3 medicinal herb, and its medicinal properties were overbearing, he was still unable to completely suppress its medicinal properties with his current origin energy cultivation, and he could only force it bit by bit towards his dantian. After an hour, Feyrin, who had spent a tremendous amount of effort, finally succeeded in refining the 100 nether poison grass, after which he completely devoured it and made it his own. With the help of this pure energy, his origin energy cultivation also soared. He was less than a third of his origin energy away from breaking through to the 10th level of the body refinement stage. After consuming the 100 nether poison grass, Feyrin did not remain idle. He also swallowed and refined the 9 Suns flower beside him. Moreover, with the help of the Immortal refining cauldron's power, the medicinal effects of the 9 Suns flower had also increased by more than a few folds. It turned into wisps of majestic pure energy that continuously flowed into his dantian. Just a little more. Forming a seal with both hands, Feyrin gritted his teeth as he circulated the black tortoise longevity scripture. Although he was already mentally prepared, he still miscalculated. Ever since his body had fused with the Immortal refining cauldron, the amount of origin energy that Feyrin required for each breakthrough was extremely shocking. Now that he had devoured the 100 nether poison grass and the 9 Suns flower, it was actually not enough for him to break through. Instead, it was just a little bit away. Devour. At this critical juncture, Feyrin naturally could not let all his previous efforts go to waste. He lifted his hand and instantly grabbed a large amount of inferior grade origin stones from his spirit ring. Then, he violently crushed them. The black tortoise longevity scripture also madly circulated at this moment, continuously devouring the rich origin energy within the inferior grade origin stones. Boom! A few minutes later, accompanied by a trembling sound from the depths of his dantian, Fei Rin's aura also soared by a large amount. At the same time, a sharp light shot out from his eyes. 10th level of the body, refinement stage. I've finally broken through. Clenching both his fists tightly, he felt that his entire body was filled with powerful origin energy. Fei Rin's determined face could not help but reveal a trace of undetectable joy. After consuming the underworld 100 poisons grass, 9 suns flower, and several hundred inferior grade origin stones, he had finally succeeded in breaking through. His origin energy cultivation had stepped into the 10th level of the body refinement realm, and he was only a step away from the middle unity realm. The gap between the body refinement realm and the middle unity realm was extremely large. Out of every 10 martial artists at the 10th level of the body refinement realm, only one person would be able to break through to the middle unity realm. Most of them were stuck at the half-step middle unity realm, and if they forcefully broke through, there would be the danger of chi deviation. This was also known as the martial path bottleneck. However, Fei Rin was different from most of the martial artists in the world. His body possessed the refining immortal cauldron, a unique immortal treasure in the universe. There was simply no such thing as a martial path bottleneck. As long as he had enough cultivation resources, he would be able to break through. It was just that the amount of origin energy required to break through is several times more than other martial artists of the same level. The half-step middle unity realm and the 10th level of the body refinement realm are about the same for me. Breaking through to the middle unity realm is where the trouble lies. I don't know how much origin energy would I have to consume. Thinking about how he had consumed 2 stalks of 3rd grade medicinal herbs and several hundred inferior grade origin stones to break through to the 10th level of the body refinement realm, Fei Rin shook his head and sighed self-deprecatingly. Rumble, rumble. Just at this time, a deafening roar suddenly came from the outside world. Even the blue sky peak that Fei Rin was at slightly trembled. It was as if the earth was shaking and the mountains were swaying. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The movement was extremely terrifying. What's going on? Seeing this scene, Fei Rin's face also changed slightly. In the next moment, he flew out of the house. This is... Raising his eyes and looking around, Fei Rin's expression was shocked. Then, his face turned ashen and became extremely unsightly. He saw a purple figure standing in the air in front of the Xiushui Peak. Beneath his feet were corpses and rivers of blood. The stench of the dead spread in the air. From the foot of the mountain to the mountainside, the corpses of the Iron Palm Sect's disciples could be seen everywhere. Even the entire Xiushui Peak had been forcefully flattened. The forest within was a mess. It could be said that it was the end of the world. You are a noble Star Realm expert. Why did you kill my Iron Palm Sect's disciples? Halfway up the mountain, Guohuai, who was covered in injuries, was also coughing up blood. He struggled to get up from the ground. At the same time, he raised his eyes to look at the purple figure in the sky. His originally determined face was extremely pale, and his tone was mournful. Although his cultivation was at the 2nd level of the Middle Union realm, the newcomer's strength was extremely powerful. It had far surpassed the level of the Middle Union realm. Moreover, only by breaking through to the High Star realm could one grasp the ability to temporarily float in the air. The purple figure in front of him was able to stand in the sky. His strength was naturally not weaker than a High Star Realm expert. Who the hell is this person? Not far away, the heavily injured Guohuai naturally fell into Fei Rin's eyes. Raising his head to look at the sky, Fei Rin's face was filled with bewilderment. The other party could easily defeat Guohuai and even stand in the air. Obviously, his background was not small. At least, there was no such person in the entire Azure Sun County. Enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. In the sky, the purple figure spoke indifferently. He was tall and thin, and his face was covered by a black veil. His true appearance could not be seen. He seemed to be a powerful, mysterious expert. However, the voice that spoke was a feminine woman. This is a woman. Although the purple figure's voice was low, one could still tell that it was a woman. Fei Ren's face also froze. Ever since he stepped onto the martial path, this was the first time he saw such a powerful female martial artist. Moreover, her actions were extremely ruthless and vicious. So it's a female devil. As a strong expert, she actually killed the innocent. Her methods are cruel and merciless. She even dares to claim that she is enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. What a joke. However, my cultivation is only at the 10th level of the body refinement realm. Even Guo Huai was not his opponent. I can't do anything to this female devil. Damn it. Clenching his fists, Fei Ren's face revealed a hint of anger. Now that the Iron Palm Sect's disciples were being wantonly slaughtered, as the inner sect's big senior brother, he naturally could not stand it. However, the difference in strength was too great. Moreover, he did not know the background of the other party, so he could only endure. Chapter 62. Big Senior Brother, you've finally come out. At this moment, an outer sect disciple suddenly ran towards Fei Ren. His left arm was bleeding profusely and dangling weakly. It was obvious that all the bones in his arm were broken, and he was completely crippled. Don't move. I'll use my cultivation method to heal you. Looking at this outer sect disciple, Fei Ren frowned slightly and released a wave of origin energy. It's useless, my injuries are too severe, there's no saving me. Shaking his head, the outer sect disciple spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood and smiled miserably. Big Senior Brother, the elders are all dead. Even the sect leader was injured by this person. The Iron Palm Gate will be destroyed today. What nonsense are you talking about? You've only lost an arm. You can still live. With a light shout, Fei Ren was about to use his origin energy to heal the injury, but was stopped by the outer sect disciple. His face was pale. This she-devil is extremely ruthless. Her origin energy invaded my body and shattered all my meridians and dantian in less than a quarter of an hour. Although it looks like I'm injured, I don't have much time left. Big Senior Brother, the sect leader is stopping this she-devil. You'd better run for your life. Just as he finished speaking, the outer sect disciple twitched a few times and then fell in front of Fei Ren, bleeding from his 7 orifices. The scene was extremely tragic. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, Fei Ren's face was solemn. The other party was right, with his cultivation base and strength. Even if he rushed up, it would be useless. Not only would he not be able to save Guo Huai, he would also die. Brother, I also want to run for my life, but I can't escape it all. Glancing at the outer sect disciple's corpse, Fei Ren shook his head and looked at the sky above Xiushui Peak again. He saw that the purple figure was still standing there. Although she was a woman, she was like a god descending to earth, her aura unparalleled. Our Iron Palm Gate is not the kind of person who deceives the world to gain fame, nor have we bullied the surrounding people or made enemies. Why do you say that? Hearing the purple-robed woman say that she wanted to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens, Guo Huai's face turned ashen as he found it hard to understand. Originally, Fei Ren's return to the sect was a joyous occasion. However, a mysterious purple-robed woman suddenly appeared a few days later. Not only was she powerful, but she was also extremely ruthless. She started a massacre as soon as she arrived. In just a short period of time, more than half of the entire Iron Palm sect had been killed or injured. All the elders in the sect had died in battle, and less than a third of the inner disciples remained. Even his trusted aide Li Feng had died in battle. Do you know this person? Facing Guo Huai's question, the purple-robed woman in the sky didn't say anything. Instead, the spirit ring in her hand flashed, and she threw a cold and black corpse to the ground. Boom! The corpse crashed heavily onto the ground, revealing a terrified and pale face. Surprisingly, it was Wu Tai who had been missing for a long time. Wu Tai? So it was you who killed him. After taking a closer look, Guo Huai's expression changed drastically. A few days ago, he was the one who had sent Wu Tai to the Clear Wind Castle to deal with the internal strife. This man was sinister and cunning. He bullied the men and women of the Clear Wind Fort and abused his power. He even kidnapped the youngest daughter of the Clear Wind Fort Lord, and made her his concubine. Fortunately, I ran into him and killed him. His death is not to be regretted. As the leader of a sect, you can't even discipline your own subordinates. Therefore, he is not a good person. I will kill him too." The purple-robed woman smiled coldly, her tone cold. "Wu Tai is indeed my subordinate. Now that he has been executed, and I am willing to pay with my life, I hope you can let my disciples go. They are all innocent." In the face of a life-and-death situation, Guohuai's face was pale. He seemed to know that there was no way out, so he immediately gritted his teeth and said, "Let them go. Do you want me to release the tiger back to the mountain?" Hearing this, the purple-robed woman disagreed. "If you insist on fighting, then I can only fight to the death." Although he knew that the difference in strength was huge in this life-and-death situation, in order to protect the last trace of his sect's bloodline, Guohuai's last bit of courage erupted. A flash of determination flashed in his eyes. "Haha, trash like you, who have cultivated for half your life, are only at the second level of the Middle Union realm. What do you have to fight me? Today, I will destroy your so-called Iron Palm sect. Not a single one will be left alive." In the sky, the veiled woman in a purple robe glanced at Guohuai, who was heavily injured on the ground, with a disdainful expression on her face. In the next moment, a huge ball of light condensed in her right palm. The ball of light flickered with an aura that made one's heart palpitate. Wait! Just as the purple-robed woman was about to attack, a loud shout came from the sky. In the next moment, Fei Ren leaped and arrived beside Guohuai. "Fei Ren, it is dangerous here. Leave quickly." Seeing that Fei Ren had come out of seclusion, Guohuai's expression was solemn. He then shouted in a low voice with an extremely anxious tone. After all, the other party was his favorite disciple. Even if the Iron Palm sect was destroyed today, as long as Fei Ren was still alive, there was hope for the sect to be revived. If Fei Ren died, then the Iron Palm sect would really be finished. "Master, although I do not have any feelings for the sect, you have been very good to me. I will not let this female devil kill you like this." Looking at the heavily injured Guohuai, Fei Ren's expression was solemn. He then took out an elixir from his bosom and helped Guohuai consume it. "Little kid, are you also here to die? I will not let you go just because you are young." In the sky, seeing Fei Ren appear halfway, the purple-robed woman also laughed softly with a mocking tone. Although Fei Ren was already 16 years old and had just reached adulthood, his face was still delicate and handsome. In the eyes of the purple-robed woman, he was naturally no different from an ordinary youth. "I am indeed not your opponent, but a female devil like you killed innocent people, bullied my master, and killed my fellow disciples. I think you're not a good person. You are just a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong." Looking up at the purple-robed woman in the sky, Fei Ren's expression was calm, as if he was prepared to die. In front of him was a dangerous situation where he could not win, and he could not run away. He could only gamble on provocation. The ancient said that attacking the city was inferior, attacking the heart was superior. As long as the purple-robed woman was angry, he still had a chance to live. "Little bastard, you dare to scold me." Just as he finished speaking, the purple-robed woman also shouted sternly. She seemed to be flustered and exasperated by Fei Ren's sharp words. "Senior strength is strong, but you kill my fellow disciples. It is all because of this old man's evil deeds. Isn't it ridiculous to take your anger out on others for the sake of one person?" Pointing at Wu Tai's corpse beside him, Fei Ren's expression was calm. He was not intimidated by the purple-robed woman's aura, and he still spoke slowly. "So what?" The purple-robed woman still spoke coldly, but her aura weakened slightly. Seeing that the purple-robed woman seemed to be moved, Fei Ren took the opportunity to speak again with a firm tone. "Senior, please take a look. This mountain is full of corpses, and blood flows like a river. Is this what you mean by enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens?" "Sharp-tongued little doll, I don't need you to care what I do." Snorting coldly. Although the purple-robed woman did not care about Fei Ren's words, she quietly retracted the origin power around her, and her tone was cold. "If Senior thinks that what I said is wrong, then do it. After all, We are just ants, and we can't escape from Senior's palm. Shrugging his shoulders, Fei Ren immediately sat down beside Guohuai, and at the same time put on a nonchalant posture of waiting for death. He had done what he needed to do. If the purple-robed woman insisted on killing him, and at the same time destroying the Taijiang Gate, then there was nothing he could do. This was a life-and-death bet. Chapter 63. Although the purple-robed woman had stopped her massacre, she did not leave. Instead, she was still standing in the air above Xiushui Peak. Fei Ren, this person is very strong. She's not an ordinary person. As long as you survive, the Iron Palm Gate will have hope in the future, Guohuai said worriedly as he coughed out a few more mouthfuls of blood. He seemed to know that he was doomed. Master, don't say any more. Let me heal you. Fei Ren interrupted Guohuai's warning and channeled the black tortoise longevity scripture. At the same time, he slowly injected his origin energy into Guohuai's body. To be honest, he didn't want to revitalize the Iron Palm School, nor did he want to be the successor of the Iron Palm School. The Iron Palm School was just a third-rate force, and its reputation in the Azure Sun County was negligible. Although Guohuai treated him well, his martial arts ambitions were far beyond that. In time, Fei Ren was destined to leave the Azure Sun County, or even the Chu dynasty, and head to a wider world. Naturally, he wouldn't stay in Wuhan town and be the secmaster of a small third-rate force. After all, he had the Immortal refining cauldron, an ultimate treasure of the Immortal Tao. His martial path was destined to be extraordinary. Sigh, it's hard to hide a dragon in the water. Looking at Fei Ren's determined face, Guohuai knew that his advice was useless. He shook his head and sighed. Now, the Iron Palm School had suffered heavy casualties. Not only had all the elders died in battle, even the inner and outer sect disciples had been mostly killed by the purple-robed woman. Originally, there were thousands of disciples, but now there were only a few hundred left. Moreover, the ones who survived were mostly odd-job disciples. What's going on? My origin energy has no effect. As he injected his origin energy into Guohuai's body, Fei Ren suddenly frowned. Through sensing with his origin energy, he sensed an extremely violent origin energy wreaking havoc within Guohuai's body. At the same time, it was constantly destroying Guohuai's meridians and dantian. Furthermore, no matter how he circulated his origin energy to heal Guohuai's injuries, it would ultimately be devoured by this extremely violent origin energy, leaving nothing behind. It's useless. Guohuai smiled bitterly when he noticed the change in Fei Ren's expression. This she-devil's origin energy is strange and overbearing. It has already destroyed most of my meridians and dantian. Even if my external injuries are healed, I won't live for long. What a ruthless method. Hearing this, Fei Ren's expression changed slightly. The purple-robed woman's strength was at least above the high star realm. Moreover, the way she killed was also different from the others. She would either kill her opponent with a single blow or torture him to death. Guohuai had been struck by the purple-robed woman's palm, and her yuan power had invaded his body. His meridians and dantian had been completely destroyed, and his chances of survival had been completely cut off. After all, the dantian and meridians were the foundation of a martial artist. Without the dantian, one would at most become a cripple who could not cultivate. If one's meridians were completely destroyed, then even the gods would not be able to save him. Cough, cough. Spitting out another mouthful of blood, Guohuai's complexion became even paler, as if he was on the brink of death. The origin energy fluctuations on his body had also dropped from the second level of the middle merge stage to the 10th level of the body refinement stage. His strength had greatly weakened, and he did not have much time left. Fei Ren, you must survive. Guohuai trembled as he grabbed Fei Ren's hand. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Then, he finally took his last breath. His head tilted to the side, and he was no longer breathing. Master, the moment Guohuai died, a beautiful white figure appeared out of thin air not far away. In the next moment, she appeared in front of Guohuai. Her beautiful face was flushed red, and her expression was sorrowful. It was Chun Tingting. Tingting, Master is already dead. We still have to live, we can't die. Looking at the grief-stricken Chun Tingting beside him, Fei Run gritted his teeth. His face was filled with complex emotions. He could not describe how sad he was, but there was also a trace of sadness in his heart. What a scene of deep affection between master and disciple. This lord can give you a chance to live. In the sky, seeing that Guohuai had already died, the purple-robed woman seemed to feel a little tired and immediately said coldly, "What do you want?" Seeing that the purple-robed woman's tone had loosened, as if she had no intention of killing again, Fei Ren restrained his expression and said in a dignified tone, "Currently, he had already achieved half of his goal. As long as the purple-robed woman could stop and let the remaining Iron Palm Gate disciples go, Fei Ren would have returned Guohuai a favor. In any case, he would have preserved a little of the Iron Palm Gate's bloodline, and he would also be able to live. Female devil, you killed countless of my sect's disciples, and now you still want to pretend." At this moment, a strange shout suddenly came from the side. The tone was angry, and it attracted everyone's attention. At the edge of the pile of corpses, a gray-clothed youth with a walking stick was standing there with resentment. His face was pale and bloodless. It was Wang Lingyun, who had not been seen for a long time. "This idiot, he wants to kill us." Seeing Wang Lingyun shouting, Fei Ren's expression changed drastically, and his expression was filled with shock and anger. "Fei Ren, that day you made me a cripple. Today, I want you to go to hell with me." Looking at Fei Ren, Wang Lingyun's face revealed a crazy and cruel smile, but in his heart, he was roaring, as if he was not afraid of death. Ever since he was crippled by Fei Ren that day, he had been completely reduced to a cripple, even worse than a cripple. Not only had he lost his cultivation, even his identity as an inner disciple had been stripped away. He could only be a little odd-job disciple, and was humiliated all day long. Wang Lingyun naturally found it difficult to eliminate the endless hatred towards Fei Ren. Even if Fei Ren died 1,000 times, it would not be able to eliminate the resentment in his heart. "Aunt!" Wang Lingyun's words naturally angered the purple-robed woman. The purple-robed woman instantly circulated her majestic origin energy, and in the next moment, she raised her hand and blasted out a ball of origin energy, which fell directly into the crowd below. Rumble! The ball of origin energy exploded, forming a huge origin energy shockwave that instantly swallowed a dozen Iron Palm sect disciples. Immediately, corpses littered the ground, and blood flowed like a river. Wang Lingyun was also unable to escape. His body turned into dust on the spot, and not even a corpse was left behind. "This bastard! It's over! This female devil is going to start a massacre again." Seeing Wang Lingyun provoking the purple-robed woman in the sky with his life, Fei Ren also clenched his teeth, and at the same time, an expression of despair appeared on his face. The current situation could be said to be certain death. However, what Fei Ren did not expect was that after killing Wang Lingyun, the purple-robed woman did not attack again. Instead, she slowly retracted the origin energy around her body. "This ant spoke rudely, and has already been killed by me. As for you all, my promise is still valid." Senior's actions, facing the purple-robed woman's actions, Fei Ren's face was also bewildered. He could not guess the other party's thoughts. "This person has a grudge with you. His previous actions were just to provoke me to kill him. Do you really think that I can't see through it?" The purple-robed woman laughed coldly and said with disdain, "Thank you, Senior, for showing mercy." Pursing his lips, Fei Ren still went against his conscience and said these words. The purple-robed woman in front of him had killed countless disciples in his sect, and even his master had died. Now, he actually had to thank her for sparing his life. It was indeed a little ridiculous. "Little child, your mouth is quite powerful, but your talent is not bad. My name is Night Demon Fairy. Today's matter will be temporarily forgotten. In the future, if you are dissatisfied with me, you can come and seek revenge." The purple-robed woman glanced at Fei Ren, who had a serious expression on his face, and said indifferently. In the next moment, She turned around and transformed into a wisp of green smoke and disappeared. Chapter 64. Night Devil Fairy. So this she-devil is called Night Devil Fairy. Looking at the direction where the purple-robed woman disappeared, Faerun clenched his fists under his sleeves. It was as if he suddenly had a target in his heart, and his eyes were filled with determination. 30 years of fortune, 30 years of fortune. Don't bully the young for being poor. Since the other party dared to let the tiger return to the mountain and said such harsh words, it was obvious that she did not take him seriously. But what the purple-robed woman did not expect was that Faerun had the refining Immortal Cauldron, the supreme treasure of the universe, in his body. Breaking through in cultivation was like stepping into the clouds, and all he lacked was time to grow. Faerun, she left. The crisis was suddenly resolved, but Chen Tingting seemed to have not walked out of her grief and panic. She immediately shook Faerun's arm, and tears faintly appeared in the corner of her eyes. That's right, without her elemental energy fluctuations, everything is over. Taking a deep breath, Faerun saw that the purple-robed woman's elemental energy fluctuations were completely gone. He also nodded with a heavy expression. Although the crisis had been resolved, after experiencing this unexpected disaster, the current Iron Palm Gate was no longer the same as before. The elders in the gate had all died in battle. Gate Master Wahuai, Senior Elderly Foam were all dead, and more than half of the inner and outer sect disciples were either injured or dead. The current Iron Palm Gate could not even be compared to a third-rate force, let alone a third-rate force. Other than Faerun and Chen Tingting, the highest cultivation in the gate was only at the 5th level of the body refinement realm, and there were not many of them. Most of the survivors were servant disciples. Tingting, gather the survivors, clean up the corpses, and clean up the gate. Although the Iron Palm Gate suffered calamity, it still exists. I will think of a way to let it return to its former glory. As a martial artist, death is inevitable. Sighing, Faerun lightly patted Chen Tingting's back and comforted her. Eldest senior brother. Ooh, the others are all dead. Only the few of us are left. This damned she-devil. At this moment, a few odd job disciples with lighter injuries also staggered over and complained tearfully to Faerun. For a time, everyone started sobbing silently. After all, this sort of scene where corpses covered the ground and blood flowed into rivers was too shocking and terrifying. Moreover, it was a calamity that annihilated their entire sect. These labor disciples before them were still young and had never seen such a scene, so it was normal if they weren't terrified to death on the spot. Faerun, what should we do from now on? In low spirits, Chen Tingting raised her head to look at Faerun. Her beautiful face was filled with tears, like a pear blossom bathed in the rain. As long as you're still alive, there's nothing you can't solve. Listen to my orders and go. Glancing at the crowd around him, Faerun nodded his head. The foundation of sect was nothing more than yuan stones, secret arts, and martial arts. Now that he had these things in his hands, it was possible for the Iron Palm Gate to return to its peak and even become a second-rate faction. Tingting, don't cry first. After instructing his disciples, Faerun also took out a low-grade spirit ring from his chest. The next moment, he handed it over to Chen Tingting beside him. There are some Qi method martial arts and low-grade yuan stones inside. Take it properly. In the future, you'll be the hope for the revitalization of the Iron Palm sect. Faerun, looking at the low-rank spirit ring in Faerun's hand. Chen Tingting was stunned for a moment before her tears suddenly stopped. I want to leave Wen Town. This place is no longer suitable for me. With a bitter smile, Faerun opened his mouth and said, just as he had previously planned, even if the Iron Palm Gate did not suffer from the calamity of annihilation, Faerun still wanted to leave this place. After all, his cultivation had already broken through to the 10th level of the body refinement stage. If he wanted to step into a higher realm, he was destined to travel to a wider area. Faerun, you want to go to the Azure Sun County? Wen Town and Tianshui Town were both part of the Azure Sun County. Furthermore, the Azure Sun County was filled with experts, and their prospects were even more vast. Seeing that Fei Ran was planning to leave, Chun Tingting instantly understood the other party's intentions. That's right, there are some level 2 secret arts and martial arts inside. If you cultivate well, stepping into the middle unity stage in the future will not be a problem. Nodding his head, Fei Ran opened his mouth and said. Although Fei Ran did not have many yuan stones on hand, he did not lack secret arts and martial arts. When he killed Xie Xuanji, Song Yun, and the rest at Tianshui Town, he had obtained quite a number of secret arts and martial arts, including the evil spirit art that Xie Xuanji was so proud of. However, the drawbacks of the secret art were too great, and he did not leave it with Chun Tingting this time. Tingting, although you are cultivating a sword technique, the aura of this blade technique is wide open and has the same effect as the sword technique that you have learned. It should be of some help to your cultivation. Without the slightest bit of stinginess, Fei Ran even gave away the level 2 martial art, unfettered blade technique that he had obtained by chance to Chun Tingting. After all, the other party was considered his junior sister, and their relationship was not bad. Furthermore, they were also newcomers who had entered the Iron Palm Gate together. Now that Guo Huai had died and he was about to leave for the Azure Sun County, the task of reviving the Iron Palm Gate naturally fell onto Chun Tingting's shoulders. Furthermore, she was also the person that Fei Ran was most assured of. This action was equivalent to repaying Guo Huai's master and disciple debt. Fei Ran, are you really leaving? Are you not going to stay with me? I am a woman. After accepting the low-level spirit ring, Chun Tingting bit her lips and looked at Fei Ran again. However, she saw the other party lightly shake his head as if he had already made up his mind. Then will you come back in the future? Seeing that she was unable to persuade Fei Ran to stay, Chun Tingting wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and blankly asked, I should. After my cultivation is successful, Wen Town is after all the place where I was born and raised. I still have to come back to pay my respects to my dead parents. With a smile, Fei Ran could not help but reach out to touch Chun Tingting's face. Seeing that the other party did not resist, he gently wiped away the tears on her cheeks and softly said, Don't worry, the Iron Palm Gate will definitely rise again. I will wait here for your return. Fei Ran, promise me, don't die. The path of a martial artist had always been filled with thorns and danger. Killing and death were common occurrences. Countless famous experts had stepped on layers of corpses. Although the Azure Sun County had more opportunities, there were also many experts. This was something that Chun Tingting naturally knew in her heart. I promise you. Heavily nodding his head, Fei Ran said softly, Big senior brother. Looking at the determined face of Fei Ran, Chun Tingting finally could not help but throw herself into his embrace. Then, she softly sobbed as if the emotions that had been suppressed for a long time had completely exploded. It was very sad. Gently hugging Chun Tingting in his embrace, a wisp of a woman's fragrance wafted into his nose. Feeling the warmth in his embrace, Fei Ran did not have a trace of messy thoughts. He only lightly patted Chun Tingting's back and silently allowed her to release her emotions. Her master was dead. More than half of her disciples were dead, and she was almost killed. If this happened to any 16 or 17-year-old girl, there were indeed very few who could withstand it. The reason why Chun Tingting did not break down before was because Fei Ran was beside her. Now that the crisis was over and Fei Ran was about to leave, she naturally could not control the sadness in her heart. Chapter 65. Although the Iron Palm Gate suffered heavy casualties, there was still a group of disciples who managed to survive. It could be said that they had preserved some of their fire. Moreover, with Fei Ran's support, Chun Tingting became the new gate master, holding the highest authority in the gate. With the cultivation methods, martial arts, and vitality stones left behind by Fei Ran, even if the Iron Palm Gate was no longer as powerful as before and could not dominate Wuhan Town, it was not impossible for them to recover. Chun Tingting was now at the 6th level of the body refinement realm. After a few days of guidance from Fei Ran, she was not far from breaking through to the 7th level of the body refinement realm. Although Chun Tingting was cute and beautiful, she was not an embroidered pillow. Her talent and strength far exceeded her peers and was not inferior to Wang Lingyun. After all, Wang Lingyun was much older than her and Fei Run. 3 days later, at the foot of the Iron Palm Gate, Fei Run, senior apprentice brother, looking at Fei Run in front of him, Gu Jin hesitated for a moment. He was too embarrassed to say the words senior apprentice brother and immediately changed his words. A few days ago, the purple-robed woman had started a massacre in the Iron Palm Gate. He could be considered one of the lucky few inner court disciples who had survived. Now that Fei Run had entrusted the Iron Palm Gate to Chun Tingting and was heading to the Azure Sun County alone, he had accompanied Chun Tingting to send Fei Run off. However, Gu Jin wasn't an inner disciple today. Instead, he was an elder. This was one of the reasons why Gu Jin felt awkward. Ever since the battle that day, the elders of the Taizhong clan had all died in battle. Gu Jin, one of the few inner sect disciples who had survived, naturally became the new elder. However, his strength was not enough and was still at the 6th level of the body refinement stage. Assist Tingting well. Actually, compared to Wang Lingyun, your talent is not bad. It's just that you don't have enough cultivation resources. If you were at the same level, you might not lose to him. Fei Ren glanced at Gu Jin, who was a little restrained in front of him, and smiled faintly. At the same time, he reached out and patted Gu Jin's shoulder. Compared to being someone else's little brother, it's better to be your own big brother. Senior brother is wise. Gu Jin took a deep breath, seemingly moved by Fei Ren's words. He cupped his hands again with a solemn expression. Although he was defeated by Fei Run in the past, he was not convinced in his heart. Now, facing Fei Run, Gu Jin felt an indescribable sense of submission and respect. Although the Fei Run in front of him had just come of age, his words and actions were extraordinarily mature, not like a 16-year-old youth at all. Fei Ren, remember to come back. Unlike Gu Jin, although Chun Tingting wanted to say a lot of things, she didn't know where to start. She only pursed her lips and spoke softly. I will. We'll meet again if fate allows it. Without turning his head, Fei Run waved his hand. In the next moment, he leaped and rushed into the distance. In a short while, his figure completely disappeared. The Azure Sun County was located at the southeast border of the Dacha dynasty. Its territory spanned thousands of miles. Although it was located at the border, due to the natural barrier of the Hungguan mountain range, there were very few invasions of enemy countries around the Azure Sun County. It could be considered relatively peaceful. The Dacha dynasty had been established for more than 100 years. Its national strength was strong, but it was only a small dynasty in the southeast region of the Black Star continent. There were several other dynasties of similar national strength eyeing it covetously. If it wasn't for the endless Hungguan mountain range that spanned tens of thousands of miles as a natural barrier, the southeast border of the Dacha dynasty would have been in countless wars and plunged the people into misery and suffering. In the dense forest, Fei Ren's figure shuttled back and forth. In the next moment, he steadily stopped on a treetop. At the same time, he looked into the distance and saw the faint shadow of a huge city. From afar, he could see the huge gray city gate. Above the gate, the 4 large black words Azure Sun County City could be clearly seen. The Azure Sun County City in front of them was huge. It looked like a huge square fortress that could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Moreover, the entire Azure Sun County City was at least tens of thousands of mu in size. Experts and forces from all over the world were gathered in the city, and there was no lack of first-rate forces among them. One had to know that above the first-rate forces were the 9 ranks of the great families. Those sects that could be classified as first-rate forces were all tyrants. Even the royal family of the Dacha dynasty didn't dare to underestimate them. This was enough to show the foundation and prestige of the first-rate forces. It was far from what the third-rate and second-rate forces could compare to. So this is the Azure Sun County City. It's so impressive. Looking at the Azure Sun County City not far away, Fei Ren licked his lips and sighed emotionally. After several days of trekking, he finally stepped into the borders of the Azure Sun County and arrived at the foot of the Azure Sun County city. Ever since his cultivation had advanced to the 10th level of the body refinement stage, Fei-Ren's speed had increased by quite a bit, and he no longer needed to ride a fast horse. Let's enter the city first. Retracting his gaze, Fei-Ren immediately rushed towards the city gate. Now that he had just arrived at the Azure Sun County city, his first priority was to find a place to settle down. It would be best if he could join a first-rate force and obtain more cultivation resources and opportunities. Everything else was secondary. If it wasn't for the sake of increasing his strength, Fei-Ren wouldn't have left Wuhan Town. After all, humans die in pursuit of wealth, and birds die in pursuit of food. If he wanted to quickly increase his cultivation, he could only continue to climb higher. Furthermore, the most important thing was that Fei-Ren possessed the refining Immortal Cauldron, an immortal treasure. If he didn't have a powerful cultivation base, not only would he be unable to protect the refining Immortal Cauldron, he would also lose his life in the end. After a while, Fei-Ren arrived at the Azure Sun County city gate. The city gate was bustling with activity as it was filled with people coming and going from various places. For a moment, the atmosphere was somewhat hot and dry. Apart from commoners and merchants, there were also many individual cultivators and disciples from various factions. It could be said that the good and the bad were mixed together. Queue up and pay to enter the city. Do not cut the queue. Violators will be severely punished. At this moment, the city gate was wide open. On the left and right sides of the gate, there were two young soldiers dressed in martial attire standing guard. These two young soldiers were tall and skinny with slightly tanned faces. However, they were exceptionally powerful. The yuan power undulations on their bodies had already reached the 8th level of the body refinement stage. They were comparable to the upper echelons of some third-rate forces and small clans. 2 8th level of the body refinement stage were soldiers. Following behind the crowd, Fei-Ren was slightly surprised when he sensed the yuan power undulations on the two young soldiers at the city gate. He couldn't help but secretly sigh in his heart. Gugu Wei, as expected of the Azure Sun County city. Even the soldiers guarding the city gate are so powerful. It seems like there are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the city, due to the huge flow of people coming and going from the Azure Sun County city. The Imperial Court had also made a corresponding countermeasure in order to prevent a large number of commoners from entering the city. Every time one entered the city, they had to pay a certain fee. Firstly, they could increase the tax revenue, and secondly, they could limit the flow of people. It could be said that they were killing 2 birds with 1 stone. To enter the Azure Sun County city, one had to pay 100 silver taels. Furthermore, one could not stay for more than 10 days. Although 100 silver taels was a huge sum to a commoner, to a 10th level body refinement stage practitioner like Fei-Ren, 100 silver taels was really nothing. It was only the cost of a low-grade yuan stone. Very quickly, Fei-Ren paid the 100 silver taels and stepped into the Azure Sun County city. Chapter 66. The Azure Sun County city was divided into 2 districts, the inner and outer. The outer district was filled with people from all walks of life. Fights between clans and sects were a common occurrence. As for the inner district, it was relatively balanced. There had never been any large-scale conflicts, and it was controlled by 2 major powers. The 2 major powers that dominated the inner district were the Purple Sun Chamber of Commerce and the Wind Martial Sect. The Purple Sun Chamber of Commerce was one of the oldest powers in the Azure Sun County. It had branches in every county city of the Dachu dynasty. Although it was a chamber of commerce that prioritized profits, it had a strong foundation and was considered one of the best among the first-rate powers. As for the Wind Martial Sect, it was also one of the sects that had been around for 100 years. The sect master was also a powerful Star Realm expert. There were many elders and disciples in the sect, and it had a huge influence in the Azure Sun County. Although they were both first-rate powers, the Wind Martial Sect and the Purple Sun Chamber of Commerce did not have a large-scale conflict. Instead, they maintained a delicate balance. All of this could not be separated from the secret operations of the Imperial Court. In the Azure Sun County, the Imperial Court had stationed troops in every important city. As for the Azure Sun County city, it was needless to say. The soldiers in the army were at least at the 5th level of the body refinement realm and had experienced hundreds of battles. Normal warriors might not be their match. Similarly, it was not just the Azure Sun County. The Dacha dynasty had also stationed troops in other counties to maintain peace. For example, the 2 young soldiers that Fei Ren saw at the city gate were from the Imperial Court's army. Azure Sun County City, Outer District. I didn't expect the Outer District to be so big. I'm getting dizzy. Let's find a place to rest first. After wandering around the city, Fei Ren could not see anything other than the crowded crowd. Compared to Wuhan Town, the Azure Sun County City was indeed many times more prosperous. "Brother, you seem to need some help?" Just when Fei Ren was lost, a young man's voice came from the side. Then, a skinny young man with a crew cut and wearing a linen short-sleeved shirt slowly walked towards him with a smile on his face. "You are." After sizing up the linen-clothed young man in front of him, Fei Ren's face was slightly suspicious. Looking at the other party's appearance and attire, he should be an ordinary citizen of the city. However, he could clearly sense the origin energy aura on the other party's body. He was not an ordinary citizen, but a martial artist who cultivated origin energy. Even though the body of the youth in linen clothes emitted waves of origin energy, his aura was not considered strong. He was only at the 4th level of the body refinement stage, and even in some third-rate forces, he would be considered to be at the middle or lower level. He could not be considered as an expert. "I'm Yuan Quan from the Azure Sun County. I noticed that this is your first time in the county, so I thought that you would need some help." "Brother, although my cultivation base isn't high, I know a lot about the situation in the entire Azure Sun County. I'm sure I can help you." The youth named Yuan Quan cupped his hands and grinned. His tone was humble. As a martial artist, he naturally felt the vigorous aura on Fei Ren's body. In addition, Fei Ren did not deliberately hide his origin energy, so his 10th level of the body refinement stage cultivation base was clearly visible. Even though there were many experts in the Azure Sun County, it was only relatively speaking. Most of the martial artist's strength was still not high. For example, 10th level of the body refinement stage was already relatively rare, not to mention someone as young as Fei Ren, who was at the 10th level of the body refinement stage. He was definitely a genius. To be able to get acquainted with a young genius, even if it was just a small fee for information, it was a sure win. This was also the reason why Yuan Quan took the initiative to strike up a conversation with Fei Ren. "So you work as a Xiaoshang? Then tell me, who are the powers and people in the Azure Sun County, and who is the strongest expert?" Hearing this, Fei Ren nodded his head thoughtfully. There were many rumors in the pugilistic world, and there were also people who specialized in collecting information for a living. These kinds of martial artists were generally known as Xiaosheng, and the youth in front of him was probably one of them. It just so happened that Fei Ren had just arrived, so he needed someone to find out more about the situation in the Azure Sun County. Brother is too polite. The Azure Sun County is divided into the inner and outer city. The outer city is mostly occupied by second-rate and third-rate powers, while the inner city is dominated by the 2 first-rate powers, the Purple Sun Chamber of Commerce and the Heavenly Martial Sect. Their strength is on par with each other. I wonder which news brother would like to hear first? Seeing that Fei Ren was a sensible person, Yuan Quan nodded his head and revealed a charming expression. "I forgot to mention to brother that the price of different information is different. Here are 10 inferior grade origin stones. Is that enough?" Glancing at Yuan Quan, Fei Ren secretly laughed in his heart. In the next moment, he took out a small brocade pouch from his spirit ring and threw it towards Yuan Quan. As the saying goes, money makes the world go round. He naturally knew what Yuan Quan was thinking and knew that he wouldn't do anything without benefits. Even though he had spent quite a bit of money and inferior grade origin stones to break through to the 10th level of the body refinement stage, Fei Ren still had some savings on him, and he still had about 20 to 30 inferior grade origin stones left. "Thank you, brother." Yuan Quan hurriedly accepted the brocade pouch and discovered that there were exactly 10 inferior grade origin stones inside. Yuan Quan was immediately overjoyed as he bowed his head and said with an unconcealable smile on his face, 10 inferior grade origin stones, to a 4th level body refinement stage martial artist like him, was already a considerable amount of wealth. It was enough for him to eat and drink well for a few months, and even allow him to break through to the 5th level of the body refinement stage. After all, the value of origin stones far exceeded gold and platinum. Brother, there are many factions in the outer city. However, there are only a few that are worth mentioning. There are the Bloodblade sect, the Mighty Tyrant Gang, the Tang family, and the Snow Mountain sect. These few factions are all second-rate factions, and they are at the peak of the second-rate factions. Restraining his joyous expression, Yuan Quan said in a serious tone, as a citizen of the county city and a low-level martial artist for many years, he had a rather deep understanding of the various factions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have purposely run out to become a Bai Xiaosheng and make a living by selling information. Bloodblade sect, Mighty Tyrant Gang. Rubbing his chin, Fei Ren's eyebrows twitched. These names sounded rather domineering, but he didn't know the exact background of the factions. That's right. The leaders of the Bloodblade sect and the Mighty Tyrant Gang are both middle unity stage experts, and their cultivations are not weaker than the 6th level of the middle unity stage. Nodding his head, Yuan Quan explained, in addition, the Tang family and the Snow Mountain sect are also not ordinary people. Their background is above the other two. The head of the Tang family is called Tang Shenhan, and is a 7th level middle unity stage expert. As for the sect leader of the Snow Mountain sect, her name is Ling Wanxue, and she is also a 7th level middle unity stage expert. Moreover, she is beautiful and can be said to be peerless. As he finished speaking, a strange crimson color appeared on Yuan Quan's face. A faint evil light could be seen in his eyes as he chuckled. What nonsense is this guy thinking? Looking at Yuan Quan's lustful appearance, Fei Ren curled his lips and had a strange expression. The next moment, he waved his hand and said, all right. I'll ask you one last thing. Where are these factions that you mentioned? The Bloodblade sect, the Mighty Tyrant Gang, and the Tang family are all in the outer city. As for the Snow Mountain sect's encampment, it is not in the city, but in the Black Camel Mountain not far from the city. There is only one branch in the outer city, which is usually used to recruit new disciples. Facing Fei Ren's question, Yuan Quan immediately nodded and bowed, smiling as he spoke. Chapter 67. Thank you for the information. After roughly understanding the situation in Qingyang County, Fei Ren was unwilling to stay any longer as he turned around and prepared to leave. After all, this was the outer city, and there were many people. It was not a good place to talk, and he also wanted to find a place to stay and get some primeval stones and cultivation resources. Although his cultivation speed was not slow, Fei Ren was not satisfied. Hey brother, please wait. Seeing that Fei Ren was about to leave, Yuan Quan, who was beside him, was stunned for a moment. Then, he anxiously said, as if he wanted to get close to him, I've already given you the reward. Do you have anything else? Frowning, Fei Ren turned around and looked at Yuan Quan with a solemn expression. Although he was not good at killing, if the other party was deliberately looking for trouble, he did not mind killing. Brother, please calm down. I don't have any other intentions. I just want to be friends with you. Sensing the killing intent that flashed in Fei Ren's eyes, Yuan Quan's expression changed slightly. He immediately said in a panic, as if to explain that he did not have any other intentions. That won't be necessary, Fei Ren said coldly. In the next moment, he also leapt into the city, leaving behind a stunned Yuan Quan. Although the other party had the intention of befriending him, his cultivation level was too low and was not enough to enter his eyes. Fei Ren was not a hot-blooded youth, and never did meaningless things. In the end, Yuan Quan was just a small body refinement realm martial artist at the bottom of the Azure Sun County. Being friends with him would not be of much use, and would instead drag him down. What a powerful person, a young hero, Nothing more than this. Looking at Fei Rin's gradually disappearing figure, Yuan Quan was speechless. At the same time, he could not help but tighten his grip on the small bag of inferior primeval stones in his arms. His face was filled with envy, as if he did not mind Fei Rin's cold attitude at all. Instead, he seemed to worship him. After all, in the Dacha dynasty, and even the entire Black Star continent, martial artists respected the strong. As long as you were strong enough, you would be able to obtain enough respect and status. Outer City, in a nameless tavern. Hey, have you heard that the Snow Mountain sect is recruiting new disciples? In a corner of the tavern's lobby on the first floor, two rogue cultivators dressed in tight robes were drinking wine and eating meat. From time to time, they would whisper to each other. One of them had 2 scars on his face, and his aura was vigorous. He seemed to be a master who often licked blood from blades, and his strength was not weak. Really? Opposite the scar-faced man, a red-clothed man wearing a bamboo hat was slightly surprised, as if he couldn't believe it. It's true, and regardless of gender, I heard that a lot of rogue cultivators went to Black Camel Mountain when they heard the news. Hee. The scar-faced man drank a bowl of good wine, wiped the corner of his mouth, and said in a perverted tone, "This is strange. Hasn't the Snow Mountain sect always only accepted women? Could it be that the leader of the Snow Mountain sect, Ling Wanxue, is lonely? Haha, that's not impossible. Although Ling Wanxue is a little old, she's still a rare beauty in the Azure Sun County." The red-clothed man was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed out loud. The scarred man beside him also laughed out loud when he heard this. His face was red, and it was unknown whether it was from drunkenness or lust. The Snow Mountain sect is recruiting new disciples. In the tavern, Fei Rin quietly drank a bowl of wine with a calm expression. The conversation between the 2 rogue cultivators at the table not far away naturally fell into his ears. Apart from those dirty words, he had obtained a good piece of news. He had just stepped into the Azure Sun County and was looking for a place to stay. The Snow Mountain sect was one of the few second-rate forces around the Azure Sun County. It was one of the top second-rate forces, and its reputation was not small. If he could join them, it would be a good thing for Fei Rin. That brat Yuan Quan is right. Not only is the leader of the Snow Mountain sect a great beauty, but most of her disciples are also female. No wonder those rogue cultivators are so eager to join them. They don't have good intentions. Picking up his chopsticks and putting a few mouthfuls of food into his mouth, Fei Rin looked at the 2 rogue cultivators at the table not far away, and the corner of his mouth revealed a mocking smile. After a round of strolling, and with the information from Yuan Quan, he had more or less understood the situation in the outskirts of the Azure Sun County. With his cultivation at the 10th level of the body refinement realm, which was comparable to the 1st level of the middle unity realm, it was actually very easy for him to join a force. It was just a difference in treatment. Although Fei Rin was used to being a lone ranger in the chaotic Azure Sun County, if he did not have a strong background, it would be easy for him to attract a fatal disaster. After all, the Azure Sun County was not peaceful in the dark, and there were many open and secret fights between various forces. Unlike other rogue cultivators, Fei Rin's purpose of joining the Snow Mountain sect was not for women, but to leave a way out. After all, the Snow Mountain sect was located in the Black Camel Mountain outside the city. The Black Camel Mountain stretched for thousands of miles, and the mountain was densely covered with ancient forests. Whether it was hiding or killing, it was the best place. "Kid, what are you looking at?" As if sensing Fei Rin's gaze, the scar-faced man suddenly put down the wine bowl in his hand and shouted. The red-clothed man beside him also raised his eyes and looked at Fei Rin with a cold expression. "What are you 2 talking about? I don't understand." Fei Rin was neither servile nor overbearing when he saw the scarred man and the red-clothed man looking at him aggressively, as if they were about to start a fight if they didn't agree. His tone was indifferent, and the smile on his face was still the same. The scar-faced man and the red-clothed man's cultivation were not strong, and were only at the 7th level of the body refinement realm. They were much weaker than Xie Xuanji, who had died in Fei Ren's hands. They were not a match for him at all, and were no different from trash. "Little bastard, you dare to laugh at us." Facing Fei Ren's disregard, the scar-faced man was completely enraged. He immediately pulled out the weapon at his waist, flipped over the table, and angrily walked towards Fei Ren. "Want to fight?" Seeing the scar-faced man walking over aggressively, Fei Ren's lips curled up. In the next moment, he slowly stood up, and a strand of origin power gushed out from his body. Within the Azure Sun County, this kind of fighting and killing was a common occurrence. Even if someone died, no one would care. This kid is finished. He actually provoked the twin Thunderbolt dragons. I reckon that even if he doesn't die, one of his arms will be crippled. I heard that the twin Thunderbolt dragon's cultivation is at the 7th level of the body refinement realm. With the two of them working together, even a martial artist at the 8th level of the body refinement realm would have to temporarily avoid them. It's a pity that he will be buried here at such a young age. Within the tavern, seeing Fei Ren and the scar-faced man at daggers drawn, the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. The surrounding onlookers all stopped drinking and started to discuss animatedly. For a moment, the atmosphere was anxious. Wait, this kid is not simple. As if sensing the extraordinary aura on Fei Ren's body, coupled with Fei Ren's fearless appearance, the red-clothed man at the side felt a chill in his heart. He then stopped his companion with a heavy expression. Chapter 68. Old Yang, get out of the way. I'm going to kill this little bastard. Seeing that the red-clothed man had stopped him, the scarred man's face froze. He then shouted in a low voice, his face still burning with anger. His name was Lu Lin, and he was a wandering cultivator in the Azure Sun County. As for the red-clothed man beside him, he was called Yang Te. His cultivation was also at the 7th level of the body refinement realm, and the two of them were close friends. Although Lu Lin and Yang Te's cultivation was not very high, they were still quite famous in the outer city. They were known as the twin Thunderbolt dragons, and there had always been third-rate forces that wanted to rope them in. However, they were all rejected by the two. The reason was very simple. Lu Lin and Yang Te were used to being free and could not stand the restrictions of any rules. Moreover, the two of them always did things their own way. If they wanted to fight, they would hurt others, especially Lu Lin, whose temper was extremely violent. The number of lives that died in his hands was no less than 50. Twin Thunderbolt dragons, right? In this day and age, any trash dares to call themselves dragon or tiger. I think you should change your name to Twin Thunderbolt Worms. That would be more appropriate. Glancing at Lu Lin and Yang Te, who were known as the Twin Thunderbolt Dragons, Fei Ren sneered. His figure still stood quietly on the spot, and his mocking intent did not diminish. He could not wait for the other party to attack. With regards to this kind of windfall that was delivered to his doorstep, Fei Ren had no reason to let it go. Coincidentally, he had spent most of the low-grade origin stones on him and urgently needed to return a wave. The twin Thunderbolt dragons in front of him were spendthrifts. Little bastard, you're courting death. Finally, Lu Lin was completely infuriated by Fei Ren. He immediately rushed out like an arrow, and at the same time, the weapon in his hand slashed towards Fei Ren's head. His attack was fierce. This kid is really a newborn calf that is not afraid of tigers. The twin Thunderbolt dragons are people who kill without batting an eyelid. They are quite famous in the outer city. This kid is so young. Could it be that he is the descendant of some rich and powerful family? That's why he is so fearless. It's better to move away. Don't get splashed with blood. In the main hall of the restaurant, the surrounding crowd sighed as they saw Fei Ren continuously provoking Lu Lin and Yang Te. At the same time, they all retreated, as if they were afraid that the battle of the two would affect them. The atmosphere. An ant trying to shake a tree. Seeing Lu Lin charge over, Fei Ren's expression was calm, and then he suddenly stretched out his left hand. Strands of origin energy swept out and raged, actually transforming into a mournful snake shadow. Fei Ren's cultivation was low, and the weapon he used was not a spiritual treasure. It was only a steel saber made from black iron Oregon. Its power was not enough to break through his black tortoise armor. Therefore, Fei-Ren did not have the slightest intention of dodging. He only blasted out 100 snake hands, aiming directly at his opponent's face. Miss! Clang, clang. Lu Lin only saw a flash of black light. The next moment, his throat turned red, and hot blood flowed down. At the same time, the broken steel saber in his hand fell to the ground with a crisp sound. Woo, woo, woo. Lu Lin's face was flushed red. His hands were tightly covering his neck, but he could not say anything. He could only make a vague sound, as if his trachea had been cut off. In the end, he fell to the ground in pain. After a few breaths, there was no movement. Instant kill. At that moment, the entire tavern's lobby fell into a terrifying silence. Who would have thought that the seemingly ordinary and young Fei-Ren would actually kill Lu Lin, one of the double Thunderbolt dragons, in an instant? Moreover, it was effortless. Old Lu, seeing Lu Lin fall to the ground and die, Yang Te, who was beside him, also exclaimed. His face instantly became extremely flustered, and even his eyes were filled with fear when he looked at Fei-Ren. Yang Te, who was known as the double Thunderbolt dragons, had always killed without batting an eyelid. However, today he finally felt the fear of approaching death, and that fear came from Fei-Ren in front of him. He wanted to kill me, and then he died. What about you? After easily killing Lu Lin, Fei-Ren did not stop. Instead, he looked up at Yang Te, who was already trembling in fear. His tone was mocking, like a cat playing with a mouse. Young hero, please spare my life. This is all a misunderstanding. This Lu Lin is really a snob. He actually dared to attack you, young hero. I couldn't even stop him just now. He really deserves to die. This bastard. With a plop, Yang Te suddenly knelt on the ground, and then kowtowed to Fei-Ren in front of him. He cursed angrily, as if Lu Lin was his enemy who killed his father. He cursed with all kinds of vulgarities, and he was just short of cursing Lu Lin's 18 generations of ancestors. He completely lost his previous imposing manner. This guy, seeing Yang Te cowering on the spot, Fei-Ren was also stunned, and his expression was strange. Yang Te's reaction was indeed unexpected. Yang Te and Lu Lin were known as the double Thunderbolt dragons. In any case, they had fought together for many years. However, he did not expect that in the face of life and death, this little bit of brotherhood was so worthless. They really turned hostile just like that, and it was faster than a woman turning hostile. Withdrawing the origin energy in his palm, Fei-Ren once again ridiculed. That's not right. Aren't you known as the double Thunderbolt dragons? Why don't you help your brother get revenge? Young hero, you're killing me. With my little strength, how would I dare to offend you? It's all this bastard's fault. It has nothing to do with me. Hearing this, Yang Te did not even dare to raise his head. He kowtowed a few more times with all his strength, and his whole body trembled as he spoke. His cultivation was only at the 7th level of the body refinement realm, and was on par with Lu Lin. However, the Fei-Ren in front of him was able to kill Lu Lin in one move. His cultivation was at least at the 10th level of the body refinement realm. Yang Te naturally did not have the slightest thought of resisting, and only thought of how to save his little life. Very good. You can leave now. Glancing at Yang Te, who was kneeling on the ground, Fei-Ren said indifferently, Thank you, young hero. As his voice fell, Yang Te felt as if he had been granted amnesty. He immediately got up and was about to run towards the entrance of the restaurant. However, in the next moment, his body froze, and his face was filled with shock. You, didn't you say I could? Turning his head with difficulty, Yang Te's face was pale with fright. At the same time, he violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire chest was pierced through by Fei-Ren's palm. His heart veins and sternum were shattered, and a large amount of blood spurted out. He was already unable to live. You can leave, but you must leave your life behind. His face was calm. In the next moment, Fei-Ren also withdrew his palm. At the same time, he used his yuan power to evaporate the bloodstains on his palm. His tone was indifferent. Pucci, another mouthful of blood spurted out. Yangte finally could not support his body anymore. With a bang, he fell to the ground. He was completely breathless and couldn't be more dead. Two poor bastards. As expected, the 7th level of the body refinement realm only has this much wealth. After dealing with the twin Thunderbolt dragons, Faerun also conveniently took the spirit rings on their bodies. However, the spirit rings on their hands were all low-level spirit rings. The value was not high, and there were not many things inside. There were only some money and low-grade yuan stones, and the rest were clothes and miscellaneous items. Chapter 69. Who would have thought that the tyrannical twin Thunderbolt dragons in the outer city would die in the hands of a young man today? What a young hero. It can only be said that the twin Thunderbolt dragons were unlucky to have met a tough opponent. Faerun's strength not only shocked the people in the tavern, even a few strange gazes came from not far away. Waiter, I will compensate for all the losses here. Faerun took out a bag of silver and threw it at the counter. After all, this was a tavern. The previous fight had caused a loss of many tables and chairs. Moreover, the ground was covered in blood, and the bodies of the twin Thunderbolt dragons needed to be cleaned up. Sir, seeing Faerun calling for him, the gray-clothed waiter at the counter was stunned for a moment. Then, he ran over shakily with a panicked expression. Although fights were common in the outer city and everyone was used to it, the scene was too bloody. In addition to Faerun's godlike aura, no one dared to take half a step forward. Moreover, this gray-clothed waiter was only a waiter in the tavern. He did not know any martial arts and did not cultivate any elemental energy. Therefore, he was naturally frightened by the fight between Faerun and the twin Thunderbolt dragons and did not dare to stop the fight. 50 taels of silver, is that not enough? Glancing at the gray-clothed waiter in front of him, Faerun's expression was as calm as water. Enough, enough. Sir, take care. Come back often in the future. Seeing Faerun looking at him again, this gray-clothed waiter acted as if he was facing a great enemy. His expression changed, and he nodded repeatedly, as if he was afraid that Faerun would call for him again. At the same time, he hurriedly lifted the bodies of the twin Thunderbolt dragons and ran to the backyard. In the past, fights between martial artists were common in this tavern. After all, everyone was in the Jianghu. They often licked blood from their blades and killed people for their belongings. If they did not agree with each other, they would fight. Normally, no one would stop the fight. If they were unlucky enough to be killed, it was already good enough that there was someone to collect the body. This kid is only 16 or 17 years old, but his cultivation base has already reached the 10th level of the body refinement realm. Interesting, at a corner of the street, a white-robed man stood there quietly. At this moment, his gaze was fixed on Faerun, who was in the main hall of the tavern, and he seemed to be deep in thought. Father should be interested in this kid. Stroking his chin, the white-robed man revealed a faint smile. In the next moment, he actually turned around and disappeared without leaving a trace. After leaving the tavern, Faerun did not look for an inn to rest. Instead, he headed straight for the center of the outer city. The total amount of elemental energy needed to break through to the middle unity boundary is enormous, and the amount of elemental energy I consume every time I break through is several times that of an ordinary martial artist. I have to think of a way to get some elemental stones, and it would be best if they were low-grade elemental stones. Thinking of this, Faerun could not help but feel a slight headache. Although the Black Tortoise Immortality scripture he cultivated was a rank 5 cultivation method, its main strength lay in its defensive power and healing power. Its cultivation speed was not too fast, and it was no different from an ordinary rank 4 cultivation method. If he only relied on absorbing the elemental energy of heaven and earth and operating the cultivation method to cultivate, with Faerun's current cultivation speed, he would need at least half a year to step into the first level of the middle unity boundary. If he was slower, it might even take 1 or 2 years. In the world of martial artists, there was a limit to each martial artist's golden cultivation age, roughly 20 to 30 years. If he was stagnant or cultivated slowly, it would be even more impossible for him to break through in the future due to old age. Therefore, Fei-Ren was not willing to waste his time. The outer city of the Azure Sun County City was very prosperous. Although the overall strength of martial artists was not as good as the inner city, there was almost no difference in other aspects. Moreover, there were underground black markets and auction houses in the outer city. Every day, a large number of martial artists would come and go, and the number of people who would buy treasures and set up stalls was innumerable. If I can find some treasures in the underground black market, then this young master's strength will be able to advance once again. This time, Fei-Ren's target was the underground black market. He had just killed the Thunderbolt twin dragons and obtained a windfall. In addition to the rank 3 cultivation method, evil spirit method, that he had previously snatched from Xie Xuanji, these things were of little use to him. It just so happened that he could use them to exchange for elemental stones. Although the underground black market was located in the outer city, it was not under the control of any single power. Instead, it was a place where 100 different powers contended with each other. The reason for this was very simple. Within the Azure Sun County City, there was no power that could monopolize the underground black market. After all, the mechanism of the underground black market was similar to that of an auction house. Every transaction would have a processing fee deducted. Just the intermediary fee collected in a day was not a small amount of wealth. As for why Fei-Ren chose the underground black market and not the auction house, there was another reason. It was because of the secrecy. The evil spirit method in his possession was a devil path cultivation method. Moreover, its origin was not legitimate. If he were to sell at the auction house, it would be hard to avoid some trouble. Moreover, compared to the auction house, the underground black market sold stolen goods much faster. There was also no need to worry about personal information being leaked. Regardless of whether it was from the north or south, stolen goods of unknown origin could be sold here. There was no need to worry about being coveted or retaliated against. Not long after, Fei-Ren arrived at the underground black market. Looking around, there were no signs of the flow of people decreasing. Many martial artists and loose cultivators were active. Along the way, there were also many stalls. However, their strength and cultivation were not high. Basically, they were all below the 7th level of the body refinement realm. After turning a few corners, Fei-Ren arrived at the entrance of the pavilion. He saw a young guard dressed in martial arts clothes, quietly standing guard with a serious expression. "Brother, I want to go to the first floor of the underground hall." Out of nowhere, Fei-Ren took out a bamboo hat and gently put it on. Then, he walked towards the young guard opposite him. After asking around, he found out that this was only the outer area of the underground black market. Below them, there was a 3-floor underground hall. That was the place where rare treasures were sold. Moreover, the chances of finding treasures were higher there. To enter the underground hall, you need a VIP card. If you don't have one, you need to pay 10 inferior grade origin stones. Looking at Fei-Ren, who was wearing a bamboo hat and black clothes, the young guard said unhurriedly, "Damn, it's so dark. Entrance fee is 10 inferior grade origin stones." Hearing this, Fei-Ren's expression became strange. He did not think that entering the Azure Sun County City would cost money. Entering the underground black market would also cost money. This was something that had never happened in Wuhan Town. Fortunately, the young guard did not see Fei-Ren's strange expression through the black bamboo hat. "Here are 10 inferior grade origin stones." Fei-Ren took out a brocade pouch from his spirit ring and threw it to the young guard in front of him in the next moment. Previously, when he killed the twin Thunderbolt dragons, he had obtained more than 200 inferior grade origin stones from their spirit rings. Now that he had to pay 10 inferior grade origin stones as the entrance fee, it was still okay. Although it was a little painful, it was still necessary to spend some money. After all, one could not trap a wolf without risking one's child. The stalls in the outer area of the underground black market did not have many good things. Fei-Ren came to the underground black market this time to sell the rank 3 demonic cultivation method, evil spirit method, in his hands and exchange it for other cultivation resources and treasures. Therefore, he had to go to the underground hall. Chapter 70. After paying the fee of 10 inferior grade origin stones, Fei Ren was able to enter the underground hall. At this moment, there were not many people in the underground hall, only a few refinement stage practitioners wandering around. After all, this was only the first floor, and the underground hall had a total of 3 floors. This place is quite secretive. Looking around, Fei Ren rubbed his nose. At this moment, other than some practitioners and loose practitioners, there were also a few young waitresses in uniform. They seemed to be the underground hall staff, and all of them had smiles on their faces. "Mister, may I ask if you need any help?" Just as Fei Ren was stunned, a young waitress with a wonderful figure also slowly walked over. In the next moment, she slightly bowed towards Fei Ren. Her tone was gentle and sweet, faintly revealing a trace of charm. "What a hot figure. Calm down, calm down. Today we are here for business." Glancing at the young waitress opposite him, his gaze paused on the curvy figure opposite him for a few breaths. Fei Ren also took a deep breath, his expression returning to normal as he said, "Miss, I want to sell something, and it's not cheap. Get the manager here to come out. May I ask, mister, what is the thing you want to sell?" Due to the obstruction of the black bamboo hat, the young waitress could not see the subtle changes on Fei Ren's face and softly inquired again. Although Fei Ren seemed mysterious and his aura was unfathomably deep, the young maid only treated him as an ordinary seller. After all, she had seen many martial artists and rogue cultivators before. Basically, the martial artists that came here were not ordinary people. If they didn't have some financial resources, they would simply be asking for humiliation. Cultivation method, and its rank, is not inferior to 3rd grade. After hesitating for a moment, Fei Ren finally muttered. His voice was also deliberately suppressed to the point that it was somewhat hoarse. Although the underground black market did not inquire about the customer's information, it was better to be safe than sorry. The evil spirit method was a 3rd grade cultivation method, and its price was not low. Moreover, it was a rare devil path cultivation method, and could not eliminate the possibility of others coveting it. 3rd grade cultivation method. Hearing this, the young waitress's expression slightly changed, and she almost cried out, "Sir, please come with me." Seeing Fei Ren make a shushing gesture, the young maid instantly understood. She bowed again and made way for Fei Ren. This was the 1st floor of the underground hall. Although the cultivation of the body refinement realm martial artists here were not low, the highest cultivation was only at the 8th level of the body refinement realm. As for the middle and unity realm martial artists, there was not a single one. It was slightly better than the martial artists who had set up stalls outside the hall. Not long after, Fei Ren followed the young maid to a single room on the 2nd floor of the hall. The room was brightly lit, and a rare luminous pearl hung above it. Beside it was a sofa filled with fruits, giving off the feeling of a luxurious suite. "Sir, please wait here for a moment. The steward will be here soon. I'll take my leave first." After leading Fei Ren to the room, the young female servant smiled faintly. Then she bowed and left. At the same time, she left a fragrance in the room. "It smells so good. I wonder what kind of sachet it is." After taking a deep breath of the fragrance, Fei Ren's face revealed a wretched expression. Even though the young maid's cultivation level wasn't high, only at the 4th level of the body refinement stage, her figure and appearance were both excellent. In Wuhan Town, she would definitely be a great beauty. After all, at this age where one was like a wolf or a tiger, it was a sin to not have any thoughts about beautiful women. "Sir, sorry to keep you waiting. I am Zhong Quanlin, the steward of this underground black market. Do you have a cultivation method to sell?" Not long after, just as Fei Ren was bored to death eating fruits, an old laughter came from outside. Then he saw a blue-robed old man step into the room. The blue-robed old man's hair was white, and his face was peaceful. The yuan power undulations on his body far surpassed Fei Ren's. He had already reached the middle and unity realm. Middle and unity realm? Seeing the blue-robed old man step into the room, Fei Ren stood up. His gaze was slightly surprised. After all, a middle and unity realm martial artist in Wu and town was enough to establish a sect and dominate a region. Back then, Guohuai was like this. Guohuai's cultivation was only at the second level of the middle and unity realm, but he established the third-rate Iron Palm sect. And the blue-robed old man in front of him had a higher cultivation than Guohuai. A middle and unity realm expert is only a mere steward in this underground black market. Looks like Azure Sun County City is really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Thinking of this, Fei Ren could not help but secretly click his tongue. After all, this was only the outer city. The inner city's two overlords, Purple Sun Chamber of Commerce and Wind Martial Sect, were even more powerful. They must have many middle and unity realm experts under them. Steward Zhong, I have heard of your name for a long time. Taking a deep breath, Fei Ren immediately clasped his hands. Now that he was in someone else's territory, even though he was a seller, he still had to be polite to avoid unnecessary trouble. Sir is too polite. May I know the specific grade of the cultivation method you are selling? Waving his hand, the blue-robed old man called Zhong Quanlin laughed faintly, indicating that there was no need for formalities. Grade 3 Devil Path Cultivation Method. Steward Zhong, name your price. Seeing the other party go straight to the point, Fei Ren did not waste any more words and immediately opened his mouth. His voice was still somewhat hoarse and ear-piercing, like an old man with one foot in the grave. Grade 3 Devil Path Cultivation Method. This, just as his voice fell, Zhong Quanlin's old face was stunned and his tone became somewhat hesitant. Devil Path cultivation methods were powerful, but they had many drawbacks. Ordinary martial artists would not easily cultivate them. However, there were some desperados who dared to take risks. Back then, Xie Xuanji was such a person. Seeing Zhong Quanlin's reaction, Fei Ren's heart could not help but thump, but he immediately forced himself to calm down and said, "You are not willing to accept it? If this evil spirit method could not be sold, it would really be a waste. It was useless to keep it, but a pity to give it up." Fei Ren would cry all the way to his grandmother's house. After all, he already had the Black Tortoise longevity scripture and did not need to use the evil spirit method, not to mention the drawbacks of the evil spirit method itself. That is not the case. It is just that devil path cultivation methods are powerful and their value is higher than ordinary cultivation methods. There is no lack of desperados in this world. Furthermore, there are many martial artists who are not afraid of death. There are quite a number of people who cultivate devil path cultivation methods. Shaking his head, Zhong Quanlin withdrew his expression and smiled faintly. At the same time, he also dispelled the last trace of worry in Fei Ren's heart. How much does Steward Zhong intend to offer? Seeing that he could sell it, Fei Ren's heart heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he pretended to be calm and said, 50 low-grade primordial stones. What do you think? Stretching out 5 fingers, Zhong Quanlin gently stroked his long beard. This is a little too little. Hearing these words, Fei Ren dryly coughed. Then he stretched out his hand and pressed down on his black bamboo hat, his tone probing. Although he was not very experienced, he was no fool. Not only was the evil spirit method a devil path cultivation method, it had also reached grade 3. Its value was naturally more than this. 50 low-grade primordial stones could only be exchanged for 5,000 low-grade primordial stones. If he sold it like this, it would be a huge loss. Chapter 71. How about 55? Seeing that Fei Ren was not satisfied with this price, Zhong Quanlin seemed to have expected it and probed again. 80 low-grade primordial stones. Shaking his head, Fei Ren spoke again with a firm tone. After all, the evil spirit method was a rare tier 3 cultivation method. Moreover, devil path cultivation methods were quite popular in the hands of practitioners who practiced the devil path. Naturally, he would not easily lower the price. Sir, how about this? How about I offer 60? Seeing Fei Ren shake his head, Zhong Quanlin hesitated for a moment before opening his mouth. 75. With the intention of demanding an exorbitant price, Fei Run did not compromise. 65, no more. If sir is not satisfied with this price, then forgive this old man for not being able to do anything. Seeing this scene, Zhong Quanlin lightly sighed and raised his hand to stroke his beard, as if this was already his bottom line. Deal. Covered by the black bamboo hat, Fei Ren's lips curled up. The fact that the evil spirit method could be sold for 65 low-grade primordial stones had already surprised him. After all, his exorbitant price was only to test the bottom line in Zhong Quanlin's heart. Now that the other party had already stated the highest price, he did not need to deliberately raise the price to avoid losing more than he gained. This guy actually dared to trick this old man. Seeing Fei Ren readily agree, Zhong Quanlin's old face was also stunned. As if suddenly realizing something, his eyebrows slightly wrinkled. Obsessed with the rarity of devil path cultivation methods, the originally experienced and astute Zhong Quanlin had unknowingly fallen for Fei Ren's trick. After all, no matter how rare the evil spirit method was, it was still only a Tier 3 cultivation method. Its value on the black market would not exceed 80 low-grade primordial stones. With a difference of 15 low-grade primordial stones and various handling fees, the final profit that would go to him was not much. This was also why Zhong Quanlin felt that he had been tricked. Fei Ren seemed to know nothing, but in reality, he knew everything. The cultivation method is in here. This cultivation method is called the evil spirit method. Although it is only a third-grade cultivation method, it can temporarily increase a cultivator's strength. The effect depends on the cultivator. As for the drawback, after using it, the cultivator will fall into a weakened state for a period of time. Moreover, using it frequently can cause one to suffer from chi deviation. Taking out a low-rank spirit ring from his bosom, Fei Ren handed it over to Zhong Quanlin and said, "The evil spirit art is truly a demonic art." Taking the ring, Zhong Quanlin circulated his origin energy and looked inside. He found that the ring was empty. Other than a cultivation technique manual, there was nothing else, just as Fei Ren had said. How rare, how rare. If this cultivation method is promoted by this old man, and I find some beautiful girls to show off, the price should be able to increase. At that time, those martial artists will definitely take the bait. The wrinkles on Zhong Quanlin's face twisted into a ball, and his eyes narrowed slightly, revealing an inexplicable smile. "Manager Zhong, what about my primordial stones?" Seeing Zhong Quanlin snickering, Fei Ren, who was beside him, let out a dry cough. He did not care how the other party sold the evil spirit technique, nor did he have the heart to care. Right now, he only wanted to quickly get his hands on the low-grade primal stones and then go to the underground black market to see if he could find any treasures. 65 low-rank primordial stones, if exchanged for low-rank primordial stones, would be 6,500 pieces. This was already a considerable amount of wealth. Even if all of it was used for cultivation, it would be enough to support Fei Ren to break through to the first layer of the middle unity stage. Excuse me. This old man will arrange for people to deliver the low-rank primordial stones. Please wait for a moment." Just as he finished speaking, Zhong Quanlin also took back the spirit ring and the cultivation method. He then turned around and slowly left the room. "In a while, I will go to the third floor to take a look." Fei Ren's face revealed a contemplative expression. The entire underground hall had a total of 3 floors, and each floor sold items of different value. The items sold on the first floor were more or less the same as those sold on the stalls outside. As for the second floor, most of them were medicinal pills, which he did not have much interest in at the moment. Currently, Fei Ren's cultivation was at the 10th layer of the body refinement stage, and his overall strength was comparable to the first layer of the middle unity stage. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was already extremely difficult for a body refinement stage martial artist to challenge a middle unity stage martial artist. He could be called a genius, but he was not satisfied. Fei Ren's cultivation method was the rank 5 cultivation method black tortoise longevity scripture. Moreover, he could condense the powerful black tortoise armor. In terms of cultivation method and defense, he was not bad, but in terms of offense, he was somewhat lacking. Fei Rin's current trump card was the rank 2 martial art, carefree blade technique. However, the weapon in his hand was only a rank 1 spirit treasure, and it was given to him by his master Guohuai. After many fierce battles, it had already been severely damaged. If he could obtain a good spirit treasure or a strong offensive martial art for the current Fei Rin, even if his cultivation had not broken through to the middle unity stage, his overall strength would greatly increase. When he officially broke through to the middle unity stage in the future, his strength would definitely increase by several times. Not long after, under the instructions of Zhong Quanlin, a young maid respectfully presented a low-grade spirit ring. Fei Rin counted it, and there were exactly 65 low-grade spirit stones. Compared to low-grade spirit stones contain more spirit chi, and at the same time were more expensive. Leaving the room, Fei Rin went straight to the 3rd floor of the underground hall. As he expected, compared to the 1st and 2nd floor, the number of martial artists on the 3rd floor was almost half. Among them, the lowest cultivation was at the 9th layer of the body refinement stage, and there were even a few middle unity stage experts wandering around. Middle unity stage 4. Such a cultivation is enough to become the leader of a second-rate force. Looking around, his gaze fell on a bald man wearing tight clothes and carrying a heavy hammer on his back. In the next moment, Fei Rin's eyelids twitched and his face turned serious. Let's see what good stuff they have. In order to not cause trouble, Fei Rin's gaze did not dare to linger on the bald man. He immediately retracted his gaze and turned to walk toward the counter at the side. There were many counters in this hall, and the counters were selling all kinds of items. It could be said that there was a dazzling lineup of martial arts, weapons, spirit treasures, and even spirit pills and magic cores. Almost everything was available, as long as one could afford the price. Poison Dragon Pill, Rank 2 Pill. After swallowing it, it can increase the efficiency of cultivating the 5 poison body. Price, 10 low-grade spirit stones. Fire Sky, 10 killing palms, quasi-rank 2 martial arts. Focuses on killing and berserk. When cultivated to large success, it can release a unique flame spirit chi. Its power is not ordinary. Price, 15 low-grade spirit stones. Spring Night disperses. The medicinal effect is strong and lasting. It can cause a weak body to transform into a fierce tiger in the mountains. It can increase the strength of all aspects and improve the relationship between husband and wife. Price, 1 low-grade spirit stone. After hurriedly looking around, Fei Rin felt his scalp go numb. This underground black market was indeed a place where people from all walks of life gathered. It really sold everything, and even things like aphrodisiacs were sold. Moreover, the price was not cheap. It cost 1 low-grade spirit stone, which was a total of 100 low-grade spirit stones. Chapter 72. Suddenly, Fei Rin's gaze shifted and landed on a corner of the counter. At the corner of the counter, there was an antique porcelain with 2 ears. The surface of the porcelain was ordinary, and there were many holes. It looked like an old antique toy, and there was no difference. It seemed to be a gift. Next to the antique porcelain was an exquisite jade box. Eternal Pill, a quasi-grade 3 pill. It could recover injuries and origin power in a short period of time without any side effects. It was priced at 10 low-grade primordial stones and came with an antique porcelain from the previous dynasty. Retracting his gaze, Fei Rin was shocked. Just now, the refining Immortal Cauldron in his dantian had a strange reaction. It emitted a burning aura as if it had sensed something. The source of the sensation was the antique porcelain before him. After all, the refining Immortal Cauldron was the only immortal Dao treasure in the world. Anything that could cause it to react must be extraordinary. Buy one, get one free? That's strange. This thing can cause a reaction from the refining Immortal Cauldron. Ren was shocked. This was the first time he had seen something like this since he stepped onto the martial path. It had never happened before. If it can cause a reaction from the refining Immortal Cauldron, it must be extraordinary. After making up his mind, Ren immediately bought the life and growth elixir on the counter. At the same time, he put away the 2 ancient porcelain ears that came with it into his spirit ring. There were too many people on the 3rd floor of the underground hall. If he were to reveal his wealth, he might attract unwanted attention. Therefore, he had to be careful. It's time to leave. After buying the eternal pill and the antique porcelain, Ren continued to wander around the 3rd floor. Then, he spent another 50 low-grade primordial stones to buy a grade 2 spirit treasure. At this point, the low-grade primordial stones that he had just obtained were all used up. Although his wealth had shrunk again, Ren did not feel the pinch. After all, wealth was just a worldly possession. Strength was the only way to go. In an inn in the outer city, Ren was holding a silver saber made of dark iron in his hand. From time to time, he would swing it and slash it. What good weapon! As expected of a 2nd-tier spirit artifact, its power is twice as strong as the wasp bayonet. If I infuse my origin power into it, its power will increase by at least 30%. The saber slashed out a circle of chi waves. Ren put away his saber and stood there with a gratified look on his face. This silver saber, made of black iron, was called Demon Slayer. Although the material was not the best, it was forged by a refiner. Its lethality was astonishing. Moreover, the hilt of the saber was inlaid with the magic core of a top mortal stage magical beast, greatly increasing the power of the saber. It was an authentic 2nd-grade spirit treasure. In order to buy this Demon Slayer, Ren had spent a high price of 50 low-grade primordial stones. Although the origins of most items in the underground black market were unknown, the quality was indeed very good. Although the Demon Slayer in his hand was only a 2nd-grade numinous treasure, it was still made by a blacksmith, and its power was considerable. Blacksmiths were one of the most respected professions in the Black Star continent. Like alchemists, they were divided into 9 grades. The higher the grade, the stronger the strength. Moreover, the weapons and numinous treasures they forged were also more powerful. A good numinous treasure was not inferior to a top martial art. Every artifact refiner was a 1 in 100 genius, and they were favored and roped in by the major forces of the continent. Basically, no one would offend an artifact refiner. After all, offending an artifact refiner was no less than offending several major forces, and the price was not small. I heard that blacksmiths are the same as alchemists. In addition to being gifted, they also have very strict requirements for a martial artist's mind power. Mind power has always been unpredictable. I wonder if I have this talent. Putting away the Demon Slayer, Ren's face showed a thoughtful expression. He was only an ordinary martial artist now. If he could become a blacksmith or alchemist, if he provoked any enemies in the future, they would have to consider the consequences if they wanted to attack him. I wonder what's so special about this antique. He reached out and touched his fingers. There was a slight flash of light. An ordinary-looking antique with 2 ears appeared on the table. It was the antique that Ren had bought in the underground black market during the day. However, due to its age, this antique with 2 ears seemed to break at the slightest touch. This antique with 2 ears was given to Ren when he bought the eternal pill. If this antique with 2 ears had not triggered the immortal refining cauldron in his body, he would not have spent the money to buy the eternal pill. After all, 10 low-grade primordial stones were not cheap. Moreover, Ren was not interested in the eternal pill at all. With the healing effect of the black tortoise's longevity scripture, as long as his injuries were not too severe, he could recover on his own. The eternal pill's effect was useless. Crack! Circulating his primordial power to cover his palm, Ren grabbed the antique with 2 ears. In the next moment, he exerted force. Bam! Accompanied by an explosion, the entire antique with 2 ears was shattered by the majestic primordial power. It turned into a pile of fragments and fell to the ground. This is it. Ren's pupils shrank. He saw a gray diamond-shaped crystal lying quietly in his palm. It seemed to be the remains of the antique with 2 ears. At the same time, the immortal refining cauldron in his dantian started to move again. It emitted a scorching aura. I didn't expect the immortal refining cauldron to have the ability to search for treasures, as expected of the one and only immortal treasure in the world. Amazing. Holding the gray crystal lightly, Faerun closed his eyes. He could clearly feel the immortal refining cauldron's movements in his dantian. Wisps of scorching aura were spreading through his meridians. It brought about a wave of warmth and an indescribable pleasure. The gray crystal was what caused the immortal refining cauldron to move. Although Faerun did not know what was inside the gray crystal, it must be valuable. Otherwise, the immortal refining cauldron would not have such a reaction. My cultivation base has increased slightly. Half-step Middle Union Realm. With the help of the scorching aura released by the immortal refining cauldron, Faerun's dantian expanded again. His primordial power cultivation base increased significantly at the same time. He had reached the half-step Middle Union Realm. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the Middle Union Realm. I'd like to see what kind of treasure it is. Licking his lips, Faerun's eyes lit up. In the next moment, he circulated his primordial power and poured it into the gray crystal in his palm. As he was not sure what it was, Faerun did not shatter the gray crystal directly. If he destroyed the gray crystal and there was nothing inside, he would suffer a great loss. Hence, pouring his primordial power into it was the safest way. No reaction. After a few minutes, Faerun's expression turned ugly. At this moment, he had consumed more than half of the primordial power in his body. However, the gray crystal in front of him still did not have any reaction. It was as if the primordial power that he poured into it had sunk into the sea. It had no effect at all. Could it be that my judgment is wrong? When he thought of this, Faerun frowned slightly. According to the plot of traditional fantasy novels, this kind of situation would not happen. However, it still happened in reality. He could not help but have a headache. Chapter 73. No, it should be because I did not inject enough origin power. On second thought, Faerun shook his head forcefully. His origin power cultivation was only half a step into the Middle Union Realm. Although he could be considered an expert in Wuhan Town, he was nothing in the Azure Sun County. His total origin power could barely be compared to a martial artist at the first level of the Middle Union Realm, but it was not enough in the eyes of some experts. Continue. With a determined gaze, Faerun once again circulated his origin power and slowly injected it into the gray crystal. He did not hold back at all. After a while, the origin power in his body was completely emptied, but the gray crystal still did not react. I don't believe it. Clenching his teeth, Faerun took out an eternal pellet from his spirit ring and swallowed it, restoring the energy in his dantian. He then continued to pour his yuan power into the gray crystal, as if he was going to use his yuan power to make it explode. Although the eternal pill was a healing-type quasi-third-grade medicinal pill, it could also quickly recover a martial artist's origin power. However, this pill was usually used to heal injuries. If it was purely used to recover origin power, it would be a waste. However, the situation was urgent. In order to explore the mystery of the gray crystal, Faerun did not want to care so much. He directly swallowed the eternal pill as if it was candy. Boom! After an unknown amount of time, the yuan power in Faerun's body was emptied and replenished again and again. Finally, the gray crystal could no longer withstand the impact of the yuan power and exploded. At the same time, an unfamiliar message suddenly flashed into his mind. 5 Mountain King capturing Palm. A few eye-catching words appeared in Faerun's mind, followed by a series of martial arts essence and comprehension. It seemed that the gray crystal contained some kind of powerful martial arts information. Under his continuous infusion of origin power, it finally revealed its true form. Phew! After a few minutes, Faerun gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, but his expression was still shocked. As he expected, there was indeed another mystery within this gray crystal. It actually contained a powerful martial art. However, due to some reason, this powerful martial art was only incomplete, and it was still unable to display its full might, unless he could find the remaining lost secret manuals. 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm. What a domineering name. I didn't expect it to be a rank 4 martial art, and it's only a fragment. If I can find the remaining lost secret manual, the complete 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm's power would be terrifying. Thinking of this, Fei Rin's eyes burned with passion. The powerful martial art within the gray crystal was a rank 4 martial art. Although the martial art information in his mind was incomplete and not the complete 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm, it was enough for the current him. Quasi 4th grade martial art, 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm. If he could completely master this martial art, his strength would rise by several folds, and challenging those of a higher realm would be as easy as chopping vegetables. Although Fei Rin's cultivation was only at the half-step Middle Union boundary, his overall strength was no longer below the first stage of the Middle Union boundary. If he could cultivate the 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm to the small success stage, then even if he faced an expert at the 3rd stage of the Middle Union boundary, he would still have a high probability of killing the other party. After digesting the martial arts secret manual in his mind, Fei Rin more or less understood the situation of the 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm. 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm, a rank 4 martial art. At the same time, it was an extremely strong offensive martial art. It advocated swift and violent killing, and there was no way out. Almost every move and style went straight for the enemy's vital points. Cultivating it to initial success would allow one's origin power to have a penetrative ability, greatly increasing its power. Moreover, cultivating it to complete success would allow one to condense a unique Earth origin power. I didn't expect this 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm to be so mysterious. The world's martial artists, through cultivating martial arts, absorb the energy of heaven and earth for their own use, which was called origin power. Unlike ordinary origin power, the earth origin power condensed by the 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm had a heavy earth attribute, and its defensive power was several times stronger than ordinary origin power. If Fei Rin cultivated the 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm to perfection, with the earth origin power and the double protection of the black tortoise armor, his defensive power would rise to a terrifying level, and he could even block an all-out attack from a Middle Unity Realm 5th level martial artist. With a cultivation of half a step into the Middle Unity Realm, blocking an all-out attack from a Middle Unity Realm 5th level martial artist, if this spread out, probably not many people would believe it. After all, the gap between the Body Refinement Realm and the Middle Unity Realm was not small, and the difference in strength was like half the sky. First, improve and consolidate my strength, then leave the city and go to Black Camel Mountain. Taking a deep breath, Fei Rin's face revealed a trace of determination. His current plan was very simple. Because he did not have many origin stones on him, it was impossible to break through to the Middle Unity Realm in a short time. It was better to improve his strength in other aspects, and cultivating the 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm was one of them. Currently, Fei Rin's strength was gradually approaching saturation. After a period of cultivation and fierce battles, the free and unfettered saber technique had been improved to the perfection realm. As for his martial art black tortoise longevity scripture, it was also close to the perfection realm. The condensed black tortoise armor was increasingly shining, as if it was a real silver armor covering his skin. His martial arts were more or less cultivated, but his origin power cultivation was temporarily unable to break through. As for his weapon, Fei Rin was very satisfied with a newly acquired 2nd grade spirit treasure, Demon Slayer Blade. It was very easy to use, and he could display its full power. In general, Fei Rin's current priority was to cultivate the 5 Mountain King Capturing Palm. After all, it was a quasi 4th grade martial art. Even with his talent and perception, it would take a period of time to completely master it. As for going to Black Camel Mountain to join the Snow Mountain sect, that was a matter for later. The next day, in the room of the inn, Fei Run was seen holding the demon slayer tightly in his hand. In the next moment, his wrist lightly shook, and the demon slayer immediately slashed out diagonally with an ear-piercing sound. Swoosh! Swoosh! A snow-white saber chi swept through the air and finally landed heavily on the opposite wall, leaving behind a deep saber mark. One could vaguely see origin power overflowing in all directions. The power of the free and unfettered saber technique has already reached its limit. Let's try the 5 Mountain King capturing palm. His gaze shifted. Fei Ren's face revealed a pondering expression. In the next moment, origin power surged in his left palm. The origin power was brownish yellow, clearly different from ordinary origin power. In the middle of his palm, a faint shadow of a towering mountain range vaguely appeared, with an imposing aura. 5 Mountain King capturing palm. With a loud shout, Fei Ren waved his palm forward. Following a rumbling sound, the entire wall collapsed and crumbled on the spot, leaving behind a mess and dust on the ground. It was as if the power of this martial art was not to be underestimated. Amazing. I've only just learned it, but its power can actually crush the free and unfettered saber technique. Withdrawing his palm, Fei Ren's eyes were filled with shock. He did not use his full strength in the previous palm, only 30% of his strength. As for the unfettered saber technique, it was the same. However, compared to the unfettered saber technique, which was at the perfect stage, the power of the unfettered saber technique was actually inferior to the 5 Mountain King capturing palm that had just broken through to the entry stage. This was enough to show the huge difference in power between a quasi-4th grade martial art and a 2nd grade martial art. Azure Sun County City, this young master did not come here in vain. Thinking of this, Fei Ren could not help but laugh heartily, completely ignoring the mess in the room beside him. After all, the collapse of the wall was a small matter. At most, he would have to pay a few dozen silver taels. As a martial artist, he did not lack money at all. Chapter 74. After finishing his cultivation, Fei Ren stood up and left the inn. Now that his 5 Mountain King capturing palm had broken through to the entry level, there was no need for him to stay in the Azure Sun County. The second-rate Snow Mountain sect was located at Black Camel Mountain, 100 miles away from the city. That was his next stop. The Snow Mountain sect was one of the best among the second-rate forces in the Azure Sun County. It was on the same level as the Bloodblade sect, the Mighty Tyrant Gang, and the Tang family. It was even stronger than the Sief family in Tianshui Town. Sect leader Ling Wanxue was not only a peerless beauty, but also quite powerful. She had always been quite famous around the county. When he was fighting the twin Thunderbolt dragons, Fei Ren heard from them that the Snow Mountain sect was recruiting new people. Moreover, there were no restrictions on men and women. This was a pleasant surprise. It was because of this that Fei Ren decided to try his luck at Black Camel Mountain. If he could join the Snow Mountain sect, not only would it be helpful for his cultivation, it would also be good luck with women. After all, the Snow Mountain sect had many female disciples. This was something that anyone with a discerning eye knew. Pretty sister, I'm coming. Fei Ren's face was filled with thoughts. In the next moment, he dashed out of the city at lightning speed. Now that his cultivation had reached the half-step middle union stage, with the support of the Black Tortoise longevity scripture, even a middle union stage 2 practitioner might not be able to catch up to Fei Ren's speed. This was also the strength of a tier 5 cultivation technique. Boss, that kid is out of the city. Not far away, at the corner of the street, 2 figures appeared as they watched Fei Ren's rapidly departing figure. They had different expressions on their faces, and it seemed like they had ill intentions. Chase, young Master Tang has ordered that we must investigate this kid's background. Yes, boss. The one who spoke was a burly man with thick eyebrows. Beside him was a tall and skinny youth with a sallow complexion. The youth opened his mouth to reveal a mouthful of yellow teeth. Although he looked extremely wretched, his yuan power cultivation was not low. He had already reached the 9th level of the body refinement stage. Outside the city, in a dense forest, Fei Rin's rapidly moving figure suddenly stopped. He then slowly turned his head to look behind him. I said, "How much do you want to follow me?" As far as the eye could see, there was only a lush green forest. However, Fei Rin's expression was calm as he stood quietly in place. The other party's cultivation was not high. Even if he deliberately distanced himself and hid his aura, it would still be difficult to escape his detection. "Good lad, you actually found out." As soon as he finished speaking, two figures rushed out from behind the dense forest and landed not far away from Fei Rin. The one who spoke was a burly man with thick eyebrows, and beside him stood a tall and thin young man. Their cultivations were not high. Both of them were martial artists in the body refinement realm. The brawny man with thick eyebrows was the strongest. His cultivation was the same as Fei Rin's at the half-step middle union realm. As for the tall and skinny youth beside him, he was at the 9th level of the body refinement realm. Within the Azure Sun County, his strength could be considered average. Two rats following me. How could I not notice them? In fact, Fei Rin had already noticed the two's tracks from the beginning. However, he did not want to make a move in the city. Firstly, there were too many people and it would easily attract unnecessary trouble. Secondly, other than the various forces in the county, there were also the Imperial Court's troops stationed in the county. He could not expose the secret of refining the Immortal Cauldron in public. "Bastard, how dare you call me a rat?" Hearing this, the tall and skinny youth was instantly enraged and immediately scolded. "Lad, you're courting death. You must be a rogue cultivator without any sect. To be able to easily kill the double thunderbolt dragons with your own strength. You're truly a young hero. Our master is very interested in you." The brawny man with thick eyebrows was very calm as he reached out to interrupt the tall and skinny youth beside him. So, narrowing his eyes, Fei Rin's expression gradually turned serious. Judging from the other party's words, he seemed to have been targeted since a long time ago. Even the fact that he killed the double thunderbolt dragons was clearly known to the other party. I didn't expect that taking care of two small fries would attract the attention of some forces in the Azure Sun County. Don't tell me that they're trying to rope me in. It's true that humans are afraid of fame, while pigs are afraid of being fat. At the thought of this, Fei Rin's lips curled up slightly as he revealed a self-deprecating smile. "Lad, do you know where we came from?" Seeing that, Fei Rin remained silent, as if he was shocked by the brawny man with thick eyebrows. The tall and skinny youth at the side also spoke out proudly, with a sinister smile on his face. "I'm sorry. I'm not interested in where you came from. I'll give you two choices. Either get lost or die." With a cold smile, Fei Rin's tone was filled with mockery. The other party's condescending attitude made him extremely unhappy. Moreover, killing was unavoidable in the path of martial arts. No matter where the other party came from, as long as they blocked his path, he did not mind sending them to hell. At most, he would just have two more skeletons. How arrogant! Bastard, how arrogant! Seeing this scene, the brawny man with thick eyebrows, who was originally calm, could not hold back the anger in his heart. He immediately shouted and channeled his origin energy to attack Fei Rin. "Come on!" Seeing the other party rushing over aggressively, Fei Rin's eyes also focused. He also channeled his origin energy and rushed down. At the same time, a mournful snake shadow instantly blasted out from his left palm. The snake shadow was currently emitting an ear-piercing hiss. Originally, Fei Rin had already cultivated the 100 snake hands to the perfection stage. As his cultivation broke through to the half-step middle unity stage, its power had increased by more than a few times. In a face-to-face exchange, it broke through the brawny man's attack and smashed fiercely on his chest. Bang! Poochie! With a muffled sound, the brawny man with thick eyebrows flew backwards in the next moment, spitting out a mouthful of thick blood. In the end, he crashed into several giant trees before stopping. The aura on his body suddenly became incomparably weak. It was obvious that he was not far from death. Insta-kill in one move. The brawny man with thick eyebrows, origin energy cultivation, was at the half-step middle unity stage, which was the same level as Fei-Ren. However, he was still unable to withstand the other party's palm. Moreover, Fei-Ren did not use his full strength in this palm. It was enough to see how terrifying Fei-Ren's true strength was. How is this possible? Seeing the brawny man with thick eyebrows collapse and fall to the ground with serious injuries and unknown life and death, the tall and thin youth beside him panicked. He no longer had the arrogant aura from before. His origin energy cultivation was only at the 9th level of the body refinement stage, which was far inferior to the brawny man with thick eyebrows. Naturally, it was impossible for him to be Fei-Ren's opponent. Even if he rushed up and risked his life, he would only be delivering food. Fei-Ren could easily finish him off in one move. Tell me, who are you people, and who sent you here? Fei-Ren retracted his hand and stood there with a cold expression. He did not need to use the 5 Mountain King capturing palm to deal with this kind of small fry. Big brother, weren't you not interested? Hearing this, the tall and thin youth's face was lifeless as he said with a trembling face. What nonsense! Just speak when I ask you to. Are you courting death? Frowning slightly, Fei-Ren appeared in front of the tall and thin youth in a flash. Then, he reached out his hand and grabbed the youth's neck. A trace of anger appeared on his face. Originally, Fei-Ren wanted to kill them and rob them. However, he changed his mind at the last moment. Since there was someone behind this, and it was from the Azure Sun County, he did not mind learning a thing or two. At the very least, he had to take the initiative. Chapter 75. It's the Tang family. This matter was instigated by the Tang family. It has nothing to do with me. With a panicked expression, the tall and skinny youth spoke weakly, as if he was afraid that Fei-Ren would kill him. After all, the scene of the brawny man with thick eyebrows dying was still vivid in his mind. His cultivation was only at the 9th level of the body, refinement realm. Although he was slightly stronger than the twin Thunderbolt dragons, it was limited to this. Not to mention, even the brawny man with thick eyebrows was not Fei-Ren's opponent. Naturally, he did not have any intention to resist. Tang family? Fei-Ren pondered. He had naturally heard of the reputation of the Tang family. The Azure Sun County was divided into the inner and outer city, where people from all walks of life were mixed together. The Tang family was a second-rate force with quite a reputation in the outer city. It was at the top of the second-rate forces and was ranked alongside the Bloodblade sect, Mighty Tyrant Gang, and Snow Mountain sect. Its foundation was quite strong, and the current head of the family, Tang Shenghun, was an expert at the 7th level of the Middle Union realm. Tang Shenghun's cultivation was at the 7th level of the Middle Union realm, and he was just a small body refinement realm martial artist. Logically speaking, the other party should not have paid attention to him. After all, any Middle Union realm martial artist could easily kill the twin Thunderbolt dragons. His battle record was nothing. Why did the Tang family send you to follow me? Thinking of this, Fei-Ren asked again in a strict tone. I'm not sure. According to our leader, it seems that it was young Master Tang's order to investigate your background. As for the rest, I don't know anything. The tall and skinny youth shook his head vigorously, as if he wanted to break free from Fei-Ren's restraint. His tone was struggling, and his body could not help but tremble slightly. Leader? Where is he? Narrowing his eyes, Fei-Ren's face revealed an ominous glint. He's already dead. He just died in the hands of young hero. Pointing at the corpse of the brawny man with thick eyebrows, not far away, the tall and skinny youth's face was filled with fear. He did not even dare to breathe loudly as he spoke in a low voice. He and the brawny man with thick eyebrows were both rogue cultivators in the Azure Sun County. Usually, they had some dealings with the Tang family. This time, they were entrusted by Tang family's young master to follow Fei-Ren. They originally thought that it was a good job to earn money, but they did not expect to hit a wall and even lose their lives. The eldest young master of the Tang family, the eldest young master of the Tang clan, was called Tang Yin. Although he was only in his early 20s, his cultivation was not ordinary. He had reached the second stage of the Middle Union realm. If he used his full strength, he could even kill a martial artist at the third stage of the Middle Union realm. He was a genius figure with some fame in the outer city district. Although Fei Run did not have a deep understanding of Tang Yun, he was not completely ignorant. The influence of the Tang family in the outer city was not small, and if he was not forced to, he was not willing to provoke such a strong enemy. Is Tang Yun trying to rope me in? I'm afraid he's thinking too much. With a cold snort, Fei Ren loosened his grip and put the lanky youth down. Since it was not Tang Xinghuan's plan, then everything would be easy to explain. At such a young age, he possessed a strength comparable to the first layer of the central unity boundary. Coupled with his mysterious origin and the fact that he was a loose cultivator, it was natural that he would attract the attention of the eldest young master of the Tang clan, Tang Sheng. Although the Tang family was one of the best among the second-rate forces, they did not rule over a region. The Bloodblade sect, Mighty Tyrant Gang, and Snow Mountain sect were not weak either. If they wanted to increase their force's foundation, roping in experts to work for them was undoubtedly the most direct and effective method. I'll spare your life today. Go back and tell Tang Yun that I won't work for him. He's not worthy, Fei Ran said coldly as he glanced at the tall and skinny young man kneeling on the ground. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, young hero, for sparing my life. After another kowtow, the lanky youth broke into a run. It was as if he was afraid that Fei Run would go back on his word and attack. He did not dare to stay here for even a moment. He did not even care about the corpse of his companion not far away. Only a fool would go back and look for Tang Yun. At this moment, the lanky youth wished that he could run faster and leave Fei Run, this homicidal maniac, as soon as possible. As the young master of the Tang clan, Tang Sheng's character was extremely irritable. He hated fence-sitters and deserters the most. If the other party knew that he had failed his mission and ran back, it would be difficult for him to escape death. Therefore, the lanky youth had the idea of running away. Tang clan, come if you have the guts. When I break through to the Middle Unity realm, I'll kill whoever comes. Looking in the direction where the lanky youth disappeared, Fei Ren's eyes revealed a fierce light. The next moment, he raised his hand and summoned the thick-browed, brawny man's corpse not far away. The immortal refining cauldron could refine all things. Although the thick-browed, brawny man's cultivation was only half a step into the Middle Unity realm, and there was not much essence left in his body after his death, it was better than nothing. Fei Ren was not picky now. My cultivation has increased a little. I'm not far from the Middle Unity realm. Activating the immortal refining cauldron, Fei Ren swallowed the thick-browed, brawny man's corpse in the next moment. Then he turned it into rich heaven and earth essence and slowly fed it back into his dantian. As the essence gathered in his dantian, Fei Ren's cultivation also increased a little. It's time to go to the Black Camel Mountain. Spitting out a mouthful of turbid air, Fei Ren's face flushed red. Following the increase in his cultivation, his entire body's essence, qi, and spirit seemed to be very full. Now that the stalker sent by the Tang clan had been eliminated, he did not have to worry about being intercepted for the time being. The Snow Mountain sect was located in the periphery of the Black Camel Mountain. The entire sect's encampment was connected by several main peaks. It was similar to the situation of the Iron Palm sect, but the scenery was more beautiful. Stop, who's there? Before approaching the mountain gate of the Snow Mountain sect, a sword light flew over. The sword light flickered and landed in front of Fei Ren's feet, leaving a deep sword mark. What is the meaning of this? Looking at the deep sword mark at his feet, Fei Ren frowned. He then looked up and saw that two young women in white had appeared in front of him. They held long swords in their hands and had solemn expressions. This is the encampment of the Snow Mountain sect. Unrelated people, please leave, one of the women in white shouted. At the same time, she swung the long sword in her hand and pointed it at Fei Ren's face. Big sister, you've misunderstood. I'm a loose cultivator. I've heard of your reputation and have come to join your esteemed sect." Although he was unhappy to have a sword pointed at his face, seeing that the other party was a woman, Fei Ren gritted his teeth and endured it. "Join the Snow Mountain sect? What a joke. Our Snow Mountain sect has never accepted male disciples. Please leave." Hearing this, the woman in white was stunned for a moment. Then, her pretty face became slightly angry. "That's right. If you don't leave obediently, don't blame us for being impolite." At this time, the other woman in white also said coldly. She did not seem to have the slightest intention of negotiating. It was as if Fei Ren was here to pick a fight. "I say, you two little girls, if you're so fierce, you won't be able to get married in the future." Seeing that the other party's aura was overbearing, Fei Ren was somewhat angry. He immediately grinned and said in a mocking tone, Chapter 76. Bastard, how dare you? Faced with Fei Ren's teasing, the two white-clothed women's beautiful faces slightly changed, and a trace of anger flashed in their beautiful eyes. They were both disciples of the Snow Mountain sect. They spent most of their time training in the sect and would only occasionally leave the mountain to train. Moreover, the sect leader of the Snow Mountain sect, Ling Wanxue, was a cold and arrogant person. The disciples under her generally did not have a good impression of men. Fei Ren's arrogant words naturally angered them. "Watch my sword." Without wasting any words with Fei Ren, one of the women brandished her sword and attacked. The yuan power in her body surged as she slashed out countless sky blue sword chi. Every sword chi was aimed at Fei Ren's blind spots without any mercy. Clang! Clang! Pulling out the demon slayer from his back, Fei Ren slashed through the sword chi in the air. At the same time, he stomped his foot heavily and retreated backwards. He's actually fine. With her eyes wide open, the white-clothed lady who attacked was bewildered. Her cultivation level was at the 8th level of the body refinement stage. Yet when faced with Fei Ren, she was unable to gain the slightest advantage. Instead, her attack was easily broken by her opponent. "Senior Lin, this kid's strength is strange." With a leap, another white-clothed woman arrived beside him. Her pretty face was solemn. The companion beside her was called Lin Xian. She was older than her by 3 years and was also an inner disciple of the Snow Mountain sect. Her cultivation was not weak. Moreover, the two of them were usually in charge of guarding the mountain gate. Normally, the rogue cultivators who came to the Black Camel Mountain would obediently retreat upon hearing the name of the Snow Mountain sect. A thorn like Fei Ren was very rare. "Miss, please don't force me. I don't want to fight with you." Looking at the girl in white named Lin Xian, who was not far away, Fei Ren smiled bitterly. She was no match for him at all, but she still insisted on fighting. This put him in a difficult position. If he injured a disciple of the Snow Mountain sect, then he would have no hope of entering the sect. I want to see what kind of ability you have." With a cold snort, Lin Xian ignored Fei Ren's words and flew out again with her sword in hand. At the same time, she slashed at Fei Ren's lower body from a tricky angle. "Little girl, so vicious." Fei Ren's eyelids twitched when he saw Lin Xian attacking his lower body. One had to know that the most important thing to a man was not his life, but his manhood. If his manhood was damaged, it would be worse than death. Carefree blade technique. Fei Ren flicked his wrist, and in the next moment, Demon Slayer slashed out diagonally. The sharp blade flickered with a cold light. Then, it collided with the long sword, producing a crisp sound of silver and iron colliding. A shockwave spread out in all directions. Swoosh! Swish! Fei Ren and Lin Xian's figures both retreated. However, Lin Xian was at a disadvantage in the confrontation. Her figure retreated about a dozen steps, while Fei Ren only retreated 2 or 3 steps. The difference in strength was obvious at a glance. "Looks like I have to teach her a lesson." Originally, Fei Ren could have killed Lin Xian in one move. However, seeing that the opponent was a Snow Mountain sect disciple and was a girl, he showed mercy and used less than 50% of his strength. However, Lin Xian did not appreciate it. She would rather die than let Fei Run take half a step into the Snow Mountain sect. Why didn't you help me? Seeing that her companion did not help, Lin Xian turned her head and looked behind her. In the next moment, she was stunned. Wana, eldest senior sister, why are you here? If I didn't come, you might have died under his blade. He saw a young woman dressed in a plain dress with long hair that reached her waist standing there. The young woman had light makeup on her oval-like face, but it still couldn't hide her beauty, as if she was a noble fairy that had descended to the mortal world. The woman in white from before stood respectfully to the side, as if she didn't dare to make a sound. Miss, I sincerely want to join the Snow Mountain sect. Unfortunately, Miss Lin did not listen to my explanation and attacked me. Seeing this scene, Fei Rin sheathed his blade and cupped his hands with a sincere expression. May I ask where you heard the news? Waving her hand, indicating for Lin Xian to step back, the plain-dressed woman called Wana said indifferently. Her voice was soft and sweet, like the sound of nature. Azure's Sun, County City. Fei Rin coughed dryly and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Our Snow Mountain sect does not accept male disciples. I think you have bad intentions. You're the same as those stinking men. With a cold snort, Lin Xian opened her mouth and said. She seemed to be somewhat dissatisfied with Fei Run. After all, as an inner disciple of the Snow Mountain sect, he was unable to take down a small wandering cultivator. Moreover, it was in front of her eldest senior sister. It was inevitable that she would feel somewhat embarrassed. I say, big sister, not all men in the world are the same. Besides, if I had such thoughts, wouldn't it be better to just go to the e-home brothel? There are many beautiful ladies there, and they won't resist. I can do whatever I want, don't you think so? Crossing his arms, Fei Rin shook his head. His tone could not help but reveal a trace of ridicule. Lecher. Seeing this, Lin Xian's pretty face turned slightly red. Just as she was about to scold him, she was stopped by the plain-dressed woman beside her. Her expression was also somewhat helpless. Enough, Lin Xian. This person is indeed not lying. I'll bring him to see the sect master first. The two of you continue to guard the mountain gate. Do not disobey. Turning her head to look at Lin Xian and the white-clothed woman beside her, the plain-dressed woman said indifferently, Yes, eldest senior sister. Pursing her lips, Lin Xian also lowered her head. However, before she left, she did not forget to glare fiercely at Fei Run, as if to say, Just you wait. This little girl must have eaten gunpowder. I didn't provoke her. Looking at Lin Xian's almost murderous gaze, Fei Rin suddenly felt a chill down his back. The next moment, he hurriedly followed the plain-dressed woman's footsteps and stepped into the Snow Mountain sect. My name is Ling Wan the eldest senior sister of the Snow Mountain sect. As they walked, the plain-dressed woman suddenly turned around and spoke softly in the next moment. She had the demeanor of a lady from a noble family. Greetings, Miss Wan I am Fei Run. Cupping his hands, Fei Run also nodded politely. Just as the rumors said, the Snow Mountain sect disciples were mostly women. Only a small number of servants were men. However, these servants were mostly villagers and ordinary people living in the Black Camel Mountain. They did not have the slightest bit of martial cultivation and were only hired by the Snow Mountain sect to do chores. Your eyes are clear and bright, and you don't seem to be someone who lies. I can see that you really want to join our Snow Mountain sect. Moreover, you have stepped into the half-step middle unite realm at such a young age. It is enough to see that your talent is not ordinary. However, do you know why our Snow Mountain sect suddenly recruited male disciples? Looking up at Fei Run, the corners of Ling Wan-er's mouth curled up slightly. Please enlighten me, Miss Wan. Hearing this, Fei Run touched his nose and revealed a dry smile. As the eldest senior sister of the Snow Mountain sect, Ling Wan-er's primary power cultivation had already reached the second level of the Middle Unite realm. Her strength was very impressive, similar to that of the Tang family's young master, Tang Yun. However, the Snow Mountain sect had never participated in external conflicts, so no one knew the exact strength of the sect. You will know when you see the sect master in a while. With a faint smile, Ling Wan also kept him in suspense. She did not speak directly and continued to walk forward. Chapter 77. After a while, Faerun followed Ling Wan to a pure white hall. It seemed to be the Snow Mountain Sect's Sect Master's Hall. Although the Snow Mountain Sect was a second-rate power, its foundation was much stronger than the Tinshui Town Xie family. Excluding the odd-job workers, there were about 500 to 600 female disciples. Among them, the weakest was at the 5th level of the body refinement realm. There were more than a dozen Middle Unity Realm elders, but most of them were at the 1st or 2nd level of the Middle Unity Realm. Sect Master. This person is called Faerun. He wishes to join our Snow Mountain sect. The two of them stepped into the hall and saw a middle-aged beauty standing quietly in the middle of the hall. The middle-aged beauty wore a purple gauze dress. She was graceful and elegant, but did not lose her charm. The Yuan power aura on her body was not ordinary. She was the current sect master of the Snow Mountain sect, Ling Wanxue. She is the sect master of the Snow Mountain sect. She is truly a peerless beauty. Looking at Ling Wanxue on the opposite side of the hall, Faerun's eyes suddenly became sluggish. His throat slightly moved, and he was somewhat speechless. It was rumored that Ling Wanxue was not only the sect master of the Snow Mountain sect, but also a powerful, peerless beauty. Seeing her today, she was indeed extraordinary. Faerun had lived for more than 10 years, but this was the first time he had seen such a beautiful woman. Moreover, a woman like Ling Wanxue could not be seen in Wuhan Town. This brat, seeing Faerun's face flickering with green and red, and his lips somewhat dry and hot, Ling Wan could not help but ruthlessly stomp on him. Her charming face revealed a trace of unnaturalness. Originally, she thought that Faerun was different from the men outside. Now that she saw Faerun's reaction, Ling Wan was secretly dissatisfied. She was even more certain that all men in the world were black. At the same time, her impression of Faerun instantly dropped by a lot. Junior Faerun greets Sect Master Ling. After being ruthlessly stomped on by Ling Wan Faerun also came back to his senses. His expression immediately returned to normal. In the next moment, he respectfully cupped his hands towards Ling Wanxue, as if nothing had happened. Kid, you're quite a sentimental person, but that's normal. Who doesn't have emotions and desires? Ling Wanxue smiled faintly, as if she did not mind Faerun's rudeness. Ling Wanxue said softly, Sect Master Ling is right. Hearing this, Faerun rubbed his nose and laughed dryly. Although the Ling Wanxue in front of him was beautiful, she was already nearing 40 years old. In terms of seniority, she was old enough to be his mother. However, because martial artists cultivated origin power, their physical qualities were much stronger than ordinary people's. Coupled with proper maintenance, she was able to maintain her youthfulness and appearance. Faerun, our sect has a secret technique called the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique. It's a level 4 technique, and it's quite powerful. However, there are only a few people who can cultivate it to the complete realm. Even I can't do it. Do you know why? Turning his gaze, Ling Wanxue quietly looked at Faerun, his tone implying something. Forgive me for not knowing. Faerun paused for a moment, then cupped his hands again. Sect Master, you said before that the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique had a flaw. Could it be that the flaw is, at this moment, Ling Wainer seemed to have suddenly thought of something. Her beautiful eyes widened as she exclaimed softly. That's right. The Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique requires the Yin and Yang energy to reach a perfect balance in order to fully unleash its power. If it's just a simple balance of energy, it's like a broken moon. Its power will be greatly reduced, and it won't even be considered a level 4 technique. Ling Wanxue nodded slightly and said slowly, the reason why she released the news that the Snow Mountain sect was recruiting disciples and guarded it strictly was to select talented young geniuses. Moreover, they had to be male because only then would they have the chance to comprehend the true Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique. One Yin and one Yang. Only by balancing yin and yang could one completely comprehend the mysteries of the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique. As the Snow Mountain sect master, Ling Wanshue had not broken through to the high star realm even after painstakingly cultivating the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique. This was related to the incomplete yin-yang dragon phoenix technique. The complete yin-yang dragon phoenix technique was a level 4 technique. As long as one was not untalented and had sufficient cultivation resources, the chances of breaking through to the high star realm were not low. If one could completely comprehend the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique, Ling Wanshue's stagnant cultivation would be able to break through again. The power of yin and yang, a perfect balance. Hearing this, Fei Ren's expression became strange. He suddenly thought of a special cultivation method. Sect Master Ling, could it be that to comprehend this technique, a man and a woman need to dual cultivate? After hesitating for a moment, Fei Ren finally could not help but speak with a cautious tone. You, what are you thinking? Dirty. As soon as he finished speaking, even with Ling Weiner's temperament, her face turned red. She immediately raised her hand and punched Fei Ren's head, as if she did not expect him to be so bold. You little doll. This technique does not require dual cultivation, but your train of thought is not wrong. If you want to comprehend the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique, you do need a man and a woman to help each other, and their cultivation cannot be too low. After being stunned for a moment, Ling Wanshue also shook her head and laughed. So that's what the Snow Mountain sect is planning. Then I'm just a tool. No, that's too much of a loss. At this point, Fei Ren also understood Ling Wanshue's thoughts. She planned to use his strength to comprehend the complete yin-yang dragon phoenix technique, break through her cultivation, and revitalize the Snow Mountain sect. However, he was a person who would not do anything without benefits. He would not do something without a return. 100 years ago, before the Dacha dynasty was established, the Snow Mountain sect was one of the 9 ranks of the great families. Its influence was deep and profound. However, it gradually declined, and the secret of the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique was buried. It was not until I went into seclusion for several years that I found out about these secrets. Seeing that Fei Ren was silent, Ling Wanshue spoke again. Sect Master Ling, I only have one question. Back then, your sect was one of the 9 ranks of the great families. Why did you deliberately hide the secret of the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique and be willing to be reduced to a second-rate force? Raising his head again, Fei Ren looked at Ling Wanshue with a sincere face. 100 years ago, the sect master of the Snow Mountain sect was not a fool, right? She did not cultivate the complete 4th-rank technique, but switched to an incomplete one. Even her own sect's successor did not know about it. Because of love, facing Fei Ren's doubts, Ling Wanshue seemed to have expected it. She shook her head and sighed. Love was the most hurtful thing. 100 years ago, our sect master saved a young man by chance. This young man was handsome and elegant. Although he was not a martial artist, he had extraordinary talent. Because he was chased by his enemies, he was reduced to this state. After a period of healing, the young man's injuries were healed, and our sect master unknowingly fell in love with this man. After that, the two of them fell in love and worked together to cultivate the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique. In a few years, their strength increased greatly, and they both stepped into the high star realm. The Snow Mountain sect also became a famous sect. However, the good times did not last long. Because of greed, the young man betrayed our sect master. For a rare spirit treasure, he did not hesitate to join a large clan. At the same time, he left behind a letter of divorce, breaking his promise and leaving the Snow Mountain sect. At this point, our sect master was greatly affected. From then on, she completely gave up on men in the world. She even made an oath that no man could step into the Snow Mountain sect. At the same time, she hid the secret of the yin-yang dragon phoenix technique. Since then, the Snow Mountain sect has been declining day by day, from a 9 ranks of the great families to a second-rate force. Ling Wanshue's face was solemn. Her gaze was deep, as if she had seen through 100 years. Chapter 78. A year after the annulment of the engagement, our sect master died of depression, and this secret has been sealed ever since. Ling Wanshue's tone was cold, as if she also felt sorry for the senior of the sect. To be honest, this man is indeed a bastard. Hearing this, Faerun finally understood what happened to the Snow Mountain sect 100 years ago. All those years ago, the Snow Mountain sect was a ninth-rank sect with a force that was like the sun in the midday sky, and it could be considered to have a little reputation in the southeast corner of the Darchu dynasty. However, it had suffered such an unforeseen event, and it truly caused one to sigh endlessly. Just as the old saying went, love can't compare to benefits in the end, and only benefits are eternal. Senior Ling, you want me to comprehend your sect's yin-yang dragon phoenix spell? Although his heart was as clear as a mirror, Faerun still wanted to pretend. After all, working for others for free was too uncomfortable. Faerun, I know what you're thinking. Glancing at Faerun, Ling Wanshue flicked her sleeves and smiled. Her tone was gentle and generous. Don't worry, as long as you can help me comprehend the yin-yang dragon phoenix spell, no matter what the reward is, as long as I can afford it, I can give it to you. All right. If you want a beautiful girl to be your wife, it's not impossible. Ling Wanshue's beautiful eyes moved, and her tone became somewhat playful. After all, the thing that the Snow Mountain sect lacked the least was women. Other than some of the commoners who were hired to do odd jobs, the rest were almost all women, and there were also many young and beautiful female disciples. For example, Lin Xian, who had a conflict with Faerun in front of the mountain gate, could be considered a rare beauty. Cough, cough, Senior Ling is joking again. I'm still young, so I'll pass. With an awkward expression, Faerun spread his hands and declined Ling Wanshue's kindness. His mind was now mostly on cultivation, and where would he find the time to indulge in debauchery and indulge in wine and women? Although Faerun liked beautiful women, he also had the heart of a prodigal. His goal was the peak of martial arts and the sea of stars. If it was just for fun, it was fine, but if he were to get married and take root in the Snow Mountain sect, he would never agree even if he was beaten to death. Moreover, he had the immortal refining cauldron, the only immortal Tao treasure in the world. It could refine all things to improve his cultivation. At the same time, he didn't have to worry about breaking through the bottleneck. If he only indulged in the 7 emotions and 6 desires, it would be a waste of a treasure like the immortal refining cauldron. Senior Ling, what about this junior's entry into the sect? Suddenly remembering something, Faerun looked up at Ling Wanshue and cupped his hands. Ancestral teachings cannot be disobeyed, but my previous words are still valid. If you are willing, you can come to the sect hall tomorrow. Ling Wanshue didn't directly refuse Faerun and smiled thoughtfully. Junior understands. Seeing this scene, Faerun also instantly understood the other party's meaning. He then cupped his hands and left. Although he couldn't join the Snow Mountain sect and lost a backer, if he could help Ling Wanshue comprehend the complete yin-yang dragon phoenix spell, he could get some benefits from the other party. He wouldn't lose too much. At most, he could rely on other forces in the county city. Master, do I really have to dual cultivate with this Faerun? In the hall, after Faerun left, Ling Wan also turned to look at Ling Wanshue beside her and frowned. That's right. As long as I can comprehend the complete yin-yang dragon phoenix spell, relying on the power of the 4th rank cultivation method, I can break free from the shackles of the Zhanghe realm within 5 years and step into the High Star realm. At that time, the Snow Mountain sect will return to its former peak. It will become the #1 force in the Azure Sun County. Nodding, Ling Wanshue's beautiful face revealed a trace of long-lost anticipation. Her tone was passionate. Wan I'll have to trouble you for these 2 days. It's just dual cultivation using Yuan Qi and using Yuan Qi to comprehend the mysteries of the cultivation method. There may be some brief physical contact, but it's not the thing between a man and a woman like you think. Ling Wanshue's gaze softened again as she looked at Ling Wan'er in front of her. She then reached out to stroke the hair on her cheek and comforted her. Ling Wan was not only the eldest senior sister of the Snow Mountain sect, but also her most beloved direct disciple. Her position in the sect was unparalleled. Therefore, compared to others, Ling Wanxue naturally valued Ling Wan very much. She was almost training her as the successor of the sect master. Comprehending the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell required 2 types of Yuan Qi, 1 Yin and 1 Yang. The cultivator's talent was not low, and they couldn't be too old. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to comprehend the incomplete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell. This was also the reason why Ling Wanxue didn't personally participate. In other words, only Ling Wan and Fei Ren together had a chance to comprehend the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell. The next day, Fei Ren was waiting in the sect hall early in the morning. According to the previous agreement, if he helped Ling Wanxue comprehend the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell, she would give him the reward he wanted. For Fei Ren, who was currently in need of primordial stones and cultivation resources, this deal was a win-win situation. "You're here." Wan'er's voice suddenly came from behind. Fei Ren turned around and saw that it was Ling Wan. "Miss Wan'er, good morning." Fei Ren grinned and greeted politely. "Since everyone is here, let's begin." In the next moment, Ling Wanxue's figure also appeared in the hall. She took out a gray secret manual from her sleeve and threw it to Fei Ren. "This is the incomplete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell. This cultivation method is divided into 9 levels. Currently, I have only cultivated to the 6th level. As for the rest of the cultivation method, it has been hidden. Only the 2 of you can comprehend it together with Yuan Qi and gradually repair it," Ling Wanxue said indifferently, as if she was instructing Fei Ren on some of the cultivation essentials. As for Ling Wan, she took a deep breath. At the same time, she gently rolled up the sleeves on her arms. Her face was solemn. She also cultivated the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix tactics. Naturally, she was clear about the basic cultivation content and meridians. "It's done." Reaching out to take the gray secret manual, Fei Ren's gaze swept across it. With his comprehension ability, he could read 10 lines at a glance. Very quickly, he had completely grasped the entire Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell's cultivation method and meridians. Swish! In the hall, Fei Ren and Ling Wan sat opposite each other. Then, they began to circulate their Yuan Qi and began to cultivate the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell. The palms of their hands were gently pressed together, and in the next moment, their fingers slowly clasped together. At the same time, strands of Yuan Qi gushed out from their bodies and finally condensed into a scroll image above them. The Yuan Qi danced in the scroll as if it was drawing the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell. The scene was very strange. So soft is this a girl's hand? It's a little fragrant. Although he couldn't see Ling Wan-er's expression with his eyes closed, the corners of Fei Ren's mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly when he felt the warmth and softness in his palm. This guy. Seeing Fei Ren's wretched expression, Ling Wan-er's pretty face immediately turned slightly red. In the next moment, her tightly clasped hands suddenly clenched, and her slender and sharp nails ruthlessly pierced into Fei Ren's skin. Hiss! Feeling a sudden sharp pain in his hands, Fei Ren couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. At the same time, he suddenly opened his eyes with a pained expression. Chapter 79. Miss Wan-er, please continue. Seeing the anger on Ling Wan-er's pretty face, Fei Ren coughed dryly. His expression was somewhat unnatural. He was originally concentrating on cultivating the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell. He did not know why, but he was suddenly interrupted by the other party's words. Comprehending the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell was not useful to Fei Ren, so he did not care too much about it. However, Ling Wan promised to reward Fei Ren generously, so he had no choice but to take it seriously. Moreover, the Snow Mountain sect was a well-known second-rate force. In the past, it had the glory of the 9 ranks of the great families. In addition, Ling Wan was an expert of the 7th level of the Middle Union realm. Naturally, she had many treasures on her. Oomph. With a cold snort, Ling Wan did not speak. She then quietly withdrew her fingernails. Wan is still the same as before. Beside her, seeing Ling Wan and Fei Ren secretly competing, Ling Wan could not help but laugh. Her face revealed a touch of helplessness. Unknowingly, 2 hours passed. Fei Ren and Ling Wan were still cultivating in the main hall. The illusory scroll above their heads was also becoming more and more condensed as Yuan Li continued to surge out. It was as if it was lifelike. Fei Ren's cultivation was at the half-step Middle Union realm, while Ling Wan-er's cultivation was at the 2nd level of the Middle Union realm. Although the difference in their Yuan Li cultivation was not small, Fei Ren's progress in cultivating the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell was not slow at all. On the contrary, he had a slight advantage. Will succeed soon. Ling Wan-er's gaze was fixed on the illusory scroll above their heads. Her face was solemn, and a touch of joy could not help but appear in her beautiful eyes. The Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell she cultivated was incomplete. If Fei Ren and Ling Wan-er worked together to comprehend the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell, then her cultivation would certainly advance by leaps and bounds in the future. She would step into the High Star realm and become a famous expert of the Dacha dynasty. This guy's speed is actually faster than mine. Ling Wan-er's beautiful eyes were slightly surprised. While circulating her origin energy to cultivate the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell, her gaze fell on Fei Ren opposite her, seemingly a little surprised. Fei Ren's essence power cultivation was only at the half-step Middle Union boundary. In a martial artist world, the higher the cultivation, the faster the cultivation speed. However, the Fei Ren in front of her was a special case. His cultivation speed was actually faster than Ling Wan-er, who was at the 2nd level of the Middle Union boundary. How could this not surprise her? It's over. Another 15 minutes passed, and Fei Ren exhaled a mouthful of turbid air heavily. In the next moment, he stopped and stood there with a relieved expression on his face. Phew! Is this the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix spell? On the opposite side, Ling Wan-er also withdrew the primary power around her body. A drop of fragrant sweat flowed down her cheeks. At this moment, she was looking at the illusory scroll hovering in the middle of the hall with a shocked expression. This scroll image was vivid and lifelike, and it was filled with densely packed words and drawings. No matter if it was the cultivation method of the cultivation technique or the circulation of origin energy, everything was clearly described. Shockingly, it was the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique. That is, turning his gaze, Fei Ren's gaze fell on the left side of the scroll image. Then, his expression turned suspicious. He saw that there was a vivid picture of a person. The person in the picture was either still or moving, and every movement was different. It seemed that they were practicing some kind of mysterious martial art. Every move and style had a spirit, which was very strange. Movement martial art, leaving no trace in the snow. As expected, this is the complete version of the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique left by the ancestor. Ling Wan-er's faint laughter came from behind. In the next moment, an afterimage flashed, and Ling Wan arrived in front of Fei Ren. At the same time, a fragrance assailed his nose. So fragrant. I wonder what kind of pollen is used to make this fragrance bag. Lightly sniffing, Fei Ren's face revealed a satisfied expression. Almost every female disciple in the Snow Mountain sect had a fragrance bag on them, and even the sect master Ling Wan-er was no exception. However, compared to ordinary female disciples, the fragrance bag on Ling Wan-er's body was more intense and fragrant, as if it could penetrate one's soul. Master, so this is what you meant by leaving no trace in the snow. On the side, Ling Wan-er also said in surprise. That's right. Leaving no trace in the snow is a movement martial art of the same origin as the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique. Only those who have practiced the complete Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique can comprehend it. At the same time, this is also a rare third-grade movement martial art. Nodding her head, Ling Wan-er slowly explained. At the same time, She turned her head to look at Fei Run beside her. Fei Ren, speaking of which, this lord has to thank you. Senior Ling is too polite. I only hope that Senior can fulfill his promise. This junior will be eternally grateful. Rubbing his nose, Fei Ren grinned. A rare humility appeared on his face. Leaving no trace in the snow. Leaving no trace in the snow. One artistic name. The Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique is an authentic 4th grade cultivation method. Although it is not as good as my Black Tortoise Immortality scripture, it is not weak. Since this movement martial art is of the same origin as the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique, it must be rare. Secretly thinking, Fei Ren suddenly had a new idea in his mind. He must get his hands on this movement martial art of leaving no trace in the snow. Otherwise, he would only be able to get a few primordial stones and other rewards after doing a big favor for the Snow Mountain sect. Thank you, Fei Ren. Although she did not have a good impression of Fei Ren, he had done a big favor for the Snow Mountain sect. At this time, Ling Wan did not want to make things difficult for him. She immediately bowed politely and said softly, Miss Wan is too polite. In response to Ling Wan-er's thanks, Fei Ren waved his hand, indicating that there was no need to be polite. Fei Ren, what reward do you want this lord to give you? Without any superfluous words, Ling Wan once again looked at Fei Ren. Senior Ling, I do not need yuan stones, pills, or soul treasures for the time being. I only want one thing. Finally, it was time for the main event. Fei Ren lightly exhaled and restrained his expression. At the same time, he stared intently at the illusory scroll at the top of the hall. You want to practice leaving no trace in the snow. Seeing Fei Ren's reaction, Ling Wan-er was stunned for a moment. Then she understood. Yes, no, this is the Snow Mountain sect's martial art. It can't be casually practiced by an outsider like you. Before Ling Wan-er could speak, Ling Wan-er vetoed. Her red lips were slightly open, and her pretty face was dark red. Senior, this is the only thing I want. As for the other things, I'm really not interested. Ignoring Ling Wan-er's obstruction, Fei Ren also sighed and cupped his hands again. A trace of helplessness appeared on his handsome face. After 2 days of contact, he roughly understood that Ling Wan-er was a woman who valued her promises very much. Moreover, as the sect leader of the Snow Mountain sect, if she broke her promise to a junior for a movement martial art, it would greatly affect her image and reputation. Therefore, Fei Ren was sure that she would not refuse. Fei Ren, oh Fei Ren, you have a good plan. Since this lord has promised you before, I will not refuse. You can take this movement martial art, leaving no trace in the snow. However, there is a small condition. I hope that you will not spread the martial art of our sect everywhere in the Jianghu in the future. Shaking her head, Ling Wan-er smiled faintly. Then she agreed to Fei Ren's request, as if she had expected it. Chapter 80. Thank you, Senior Ling. Fei Ren cupped his fists and lowered his head, indicating that he understood. Traceless Snow Steps was a grade 3 agility martial art. Although it could not directly increase his strength, it could still display a miraculous effect if he mastered it. It could even save his life in a life and death situation. After all, there was an ancient saying that the best strategy was to escape. With Fei Ren's half-step Middle Union Realm cultivation base, coupled with the support of a grade 3 movement technique, martial artists below the 4th level of the Middle Union Realm were simply unable to catch up to his footsteps. If he could cultivate traceless snow steps to the Great Circle Realm, his movement technique speed could even match that of a 5th level Middle Union Realm martial artist. It could be considered a life-saving divine skill. With Fei Ren's character, he naturally could not let go of such a life-saving skill. Even if he did not want the yuan stones, pills, and treasures, he would still obtain the grade 3 agility martial art. You are really lucky. Traceless Snow Steps is a martial art of the same origin as the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix technique. You cannot reveal it in the future. Seeing Ling Wanshua nod her head in agreement, Ling Wan no longer resisted and coldly said, However, Her face was still somewhat dissatisfied. Of course, Miss Wan please rest assured. Seeing Ling Wan-er's somewhat displeased expression, Fei Run did not say much. He only cupped his fists and revealed a dry smile. He did not mind Ling Wan-er's attitude too much. After all, this was the Snow Mountain sect's cultivation method and martial art. It was understandable that it could not be easily leaked. Moreover, he was just a nameless rogue cultivator. If he did not contribute, the result would be the same if it was someone else. After a while, Fei Ren had completely memorized the contents of traceless snow steps. At the same time, Ling Wanxue took out a low-level spirit ring from her sleeve and said, Fei Ren, our Snow Mountain sect has never accepted favors from others. I am the same. In addition to traceless snow steps, I will also give you this low-level spirit ring. I believe it will be of great use to you. Ling Wanxue's face was as calm as water. The spirit ring in her hand emitted a faint white light. Obviously, she was not joking. There was an unexpected gain. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren's face froze. Originally, he only wanted to get the traceless snow steps and leave, but he didn't expect Ling Wanxue to be more generous than he thought. You can give it back if you don't want it. Seeing Fei Ren's outstretched hand freeze in midair, Ling Wan said in a bad mood. She seemed to be dissatisfied with Ling Wanxue being so polite to Fei Ren, giving him martial arts and a spirit ring. Yes, of course I do. How could I be rude to Senior Ling's gift? Chuckling, Fei Ren put away the low-ranked spiritual ring with a natural expression. Senior Ling, Miss Wan now that the matter has been resolved, I will not disturb you any longer. See you again. Now that the movement martial art was in his hands, Fei Ren had the intention to leave. He immediately cupped his fists at the two people opposite him and said humbly, although he didn't know what treasures were in the low-ranked spiritual ring that Ling Wanxue gave him, with the other party's identity as the sect master of the Snow Mountain sect, the items would not be too bad. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. Inside the main hall, looking at Fei Ren's gradually disappearing figure, Ling Wan bit her lips. Her face seemed to be somewhat unwilling. Although this time, with Fei Ren's help, the Snow Mountain sect once again found the complete rank 4 technique, Yin Yang Dragon Phoenix technique, she was not very happy. This was because Fei Ren asked for the traceless snow steps movement martial art and Ling Wanxue's generosity. It's just some spirit stones, pills, and a movement martial art. You don't have to be so calculative. Slowly stepping forward, Ling Wanxue's pair of beautiful eyes looked at Ling Wan beside her. She shook her head and said, although this kid's character is a little improper, he is not a bad person. Moreover, his talent is extraordinary. He is far from being a fish in a pond. Master, don't you think your evaluation of him is too high? Hearing this, Ling Wan was somewhat puzzled. Fei Ren was only 16 years old, and he already had a cultivation of half-step middle union boundary. His strength was not weak, but his talent was not exceptional. There were many young geniuses in the Azure Sun County, and some of them were even stronger than Fei Ren. Therefore, Ling Wan could not agree with Ling Wanxue's evaluation. No, the Azure Sun County and even the Dacha dynasty are nothing compared to the entire southeast region. I have a faint feeling, and it is very strong, that this kid's future achievements will be far greater than what they are now. Shaking her head, Ling Wanxue's face revealed a thoughtful expression. Her pair of dark eyes flashed as if she had seen some details and extraordinariness of Fei Ren. After leaving the Snow Mountain sect, Fei Ren did not immediately return to the Azure Sun County. Instead, he found a quiet and secluded cave in the Black Camel Mountain and went into seclusion. As for why he was in such a hurry to go into seclusion, there was a reason. In a low-grade spirit ring that Ling Wanxue gave him, there are almost 10,000 inferior spirit stones other than pills. If converted to low-grade spirit stones, it would be a total of 100. Such a huge amount of spirit stones was enough for an ordinary 10th level body refinement realm martial artist to break through several times. Naturally, Fei Ren would not let go of such a windfall. Since the spirit stones could not give birth to children, and he was not a miser, he might as well use it to increase his strength. It has begun. In the nameless cave, Faerun was seen sitting cross-legged on the ground. The cold and damp ground could not affect his state of mind. Around him were piles of silver, shining, inferior spirit stones. There were a total of 10,000 of them, which was close to the size of a small mountain. The aura was very shocking. Shwa, shwa. Holding a few inferior spirit stones in each of his palms, Faerun quickly entered into a state of cultivation. Following the continuous circulation of the black tortoise immortality scripture, strands of pure spirit stones were separated from the spirit stones and slowly poured into his dantian. They were then swallowed and refined by the refining immortal cauldron before finally being fed back. Rumble. After an unknown amount of time, Faerun's aura shook. In the next moment, his eyes shot out a ray of light. His spirit stone's aura also rose substantially. He actually broke through the shackles and officially stepped into the first level of the Middle Unity Realm. First level of the Middle Unity Realm. I have finally stepped into the Middle Unity Realm. The spirit stones spread throughout my meridians. The power of a casual punch is enough to crush a 10th level body refinement realm martial artist. Is this the difference between us? Deeply exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Faerun felt the explosive spirit stones in his body. His face was filled with joy. The Middle Unity Realm was the second of the 3 mortal body realms. It was different from the body refinement realm. Body refinement realm martial artists only use spirit stones to temper their physique. However, after a martial artist stepped into the Middle Unity Realm, spirit stones could spread throughout the meridians of the body, greatly increasing the power. Moreover, spirit stones could also protect the body, greatly increasing the defensive power. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.